Isn't there a cowboy all hat and no horse or something about a fake cowboy?
This, I'll have you, is the Stetson long oval. And I'm afraid it probably is a bit distorted.
I actually
in the
like
camera.
it. Keep it on. I like it.
No, it looks good, actually.
I like
It looks really
a
good.
lot.
So we are live, by the way.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, folks.
Howdy. Howdy, Nick Anderson.
Howdy. Yeah.
How you doing?
Do there, ma'am.
Now, this is where we, Mike Kuipers and anybody else in there, sound technicians, kind of start listening to us, having our conversation, let us know if somebody needs to, like, move the volume up or down. Okay, now we're not saying anything. It's not going to be very
Good testing.
Yeah. Let's see. Get the sound bite up. Where is my cursor? Here it is. Okay, now this is where I play something that's going to blow everybody's ears out. Usually this is what happens anyway.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
Is that too loud?
Nope. Sounds good to me.
Was it loud enough?
Yeah, sounded fine.
Okay.
Oh, let me go and find the link to the YouTube.
Okay, and I need to go back to the correct file in the DAW so that I can actually record this.
Apparently, I'm being accused of endorsing the Dallas Cowboys over the 49ers today.
Well, I don't know if I can endorse either one of those teams, so I'm just kidding.
If I get paid, I'll endorse anyone. I really don't mind.
What has happened? Everything is frozen over here on my end.
Uh-oh. Well, that's not good.
Well, that'll be the snow, Jeff.
Oh, that could be. Why
is it snowing at all there in Atlanta?
No, it's just rain.
Rain.
Yeah.
No, we've got about a good half-inch of wintry mix accumulation. It's mostly ice pellets. It's quite disgusting.
Oh,
sorry.
Ice pellets. Yes.
Like grapple. Like, except it's not.
grapple,
It's
yeah.
really just sleet that...
Sounds a bit iffy.
That's gross.
Yeah, it makes driving just very, very easy.
Impossible.
That's why you have a Jeep, Steph.
No, it doesn't matter. If it's got tires on it, it doesn't... They don't function at all.
You mean you don't have the track conversion?
I don't have the ice skate conversion. Yeah.
For your
That's
Jeep?
really what you need.
Okay.
Well, hope everybody's doing well today in the live chat room.
Doesn't care about the co-host.
Jeff's a bit low. Nick and Steph sound fine. Okay. Wait a minute. What is Micah doing up this early?
Hell.
I think he got up early for us.
Oh,
Wow.
how nice of him. Didn't
okay,
expect
we'll
to
put
see
him
you
to
here.
sleep.
Micah. Why am I hearing
There's an
myself?
echo.
What happened?
Don't know.
That's weird. Okay, testing, 1, 2, 3. Is that better?
Yeah. Oh, Liz, did you like the pictures this week? Oh, Liz has stopped talking. That's sad.
Oh, it was Liz. I think that we heard that little echo from you. Are your headphones plugged in? Okay, she's typing something, it looks like.
Right. Well, I'm going to have a quick biological break and I'll be all set.
Okay.
Do cowboys take their hats off to pee? I don't know.
No. You have to sleep in it, too. Oh, not listening.
The pee or the hat? Or both?
Yes.
Liz, can you hear us? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, you can hear me. We can't hear you for some reason. Can't hear you. I can't hear you on stream feed, and I can't hear you. I mean, clean feed, and I can't hear you on StreamYard. Clean stream.
That sounds like
Clean
a
feed.
biological.
A stream feed.
Thing.
Yeah, clean. A clear stream. No, I'm not hearing you at all. Now she's like blessing me out. She's pointing her finger at me. Something changed for you, Liz. No, we can't hear you. Why don't you go into the cam/mic settings in StreamYard and then do audio and just make sure that your mic is connected?
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I
But
was
I-
muted. Somehow I got muted. I don't know how, but anyway.
Oh,
I'm unmuted
okay.
now.
So why don't you check the clean feed
Okay.
thing?
Just mute myself here.
I don't hear anything in clean feed.
Aha, I see. Now you realise that the bloke in the black hat, he's the baddie.
Got it sorted out?
He's the guy that always gets shot.
Okay, all good.
Steph, brilliant.
It was in my closet. It's a little crumpled.
I don't have
That's
I
right.
don't
You
have a
look
Cowboys.
very Calamity Jane.
Yes, that's the idea. It keeps like slipping down over my I can see fine, but then I realize like no one can see my eyeballs. And
I think it looks great. Actually, it's perfect.
Say, Nick C.,
Very
I'd like you to meet Main Man Micah. Main Man Micah, I'd like you to meet Nick Camacho. He's going to say something now.
Say something now. Hi,
He
Micah.
just wants to check the volume.
he's our in the chat room sound level
Our audio
expert.
Our audio guy.
auditor. Our audio auditor.
Well, somebody's having a good time with something there in the background.
Yeah, I think it's Taco, is it?
It is. Taco's the vocal one. Truman doesn't make any noise when he antagonizes him, but I'm letting them get this out of their system right now because otherwise they'll stand outside the door and scratch at the door the entire time. So I figured as long as we're not
At first, I thought it was Nick
his intestines
making noises.
My stomach growling. No, I've had lunch. I'm good.
Like you were bending over or something to reach something on the floor.
Well, actually, yes, that is a very good approximation of what I sound like.
That is
Yep.
true. When you get older, you do start making noises when you get in and out of the car and in and out of bed. And
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
we can't help it.
Standing up.
You'll understand when you get to be old. Older.
I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about right now.
Ah, shut up, Steph. Any of you
Yeah,
do,
right.
I think.
I do, actually.
She's been
I was running around the
that
track
now.
last night, and like on the last like hard mile of the set, there was like this involuntary. All of a sudden, I was like, ugh, and I was like, what did I just make that noise? I didn't think about it; it just happened.
After you've done it, you go, "Oh, did I really
Oh,
just do that?" Oh, yeah,
I think that was
did.
audible. Good thing there's no one out here except for me.
I actually love Steph's hat. I think it's perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks great.
Thanks.
I wish I had one. I don't have any hats here.
It's just law. All Americans have to own a cowboy hat.
Well,
Yeah,
apparently
I
I'm
thought
not
so.
I'm not an official American.
You're gonna have to
So
go to
I'd
Canada
lend you
now.
mine,
Sorry.
but
What was the impetus for Nick getting a hat?
I think he came to America and got a.
He wants to be a cowboy.
He wants to be in. He wants to be in.
no,
America.
I
He wants
collect
to fly a
hats.
Boeing.
So, like,
Yeah.
there's no headroom in a Boeing for one of these. I'll tell you that. I just collect hats, and I was. This hat is probably 25 years old. Yeah, probably about that.
It looks like it could have been Australian too. No.
Yeah, but actually, no. I've got a couple of Akubras, which are Australian bushman's hats, and they look a bit like the one that Nick was wearing. That's the kind
More
of
the style.
stockman's hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Something
I'm
just
back.
happened again.
Yeah, I heard
I
that
know.
too.
I don't know. I keep my mic keeps muting itself for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, and then when it does that, all of a sudden we hear it must
Well, I
go
know
to your
It
speakers
goes over
or
to
something.
my laptop. So I
Yeah.
don't know why. Anyway, let's get the introductions done, and then I can leave and stop annoying you.
Oh no! What she means is then I can just annoy Jeff
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
that's my role.
she has
isn't
to
it?
be-
That's in the job
she-
description.
Yes.
Yeah, she has to be a bit polite when everyone's listening.
I have a show title already. All
Go
hat,
on, then.
no cattle.
Ah,
Oh, I had no cattle.
all hat, no.
I thought you said all hat and no cowboy before. No
I thought
horse.
it was, but I just looked up the phrase. It's all hat, no
all
cattle.
hat, no cattle.
It
Oh,
means
okay.
you're a fake cowboy.
Oh,
Well, I would probably go all hat, no cow, because that sounds a bit funnier, don't you think?
Sure.
Yeah,
Anyway.
change the phrase however you'd like, Nick. That's fine.
Yeah, well, I'm in charge.
It's called
Artistic.
artistic license.
Not true.
okay. Hang on. I don't know what's going on with my setup here today, but my display that I have you all on is frozen again.
Interesting.
Come on, don't do that. You're better than that.
If you just talk to it nicely, it'll.
Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Give it a little encouragement.
Let me make sure that this
Boosts
is.
its self-confidence. It's lacking in self-esteem.
I'm gonna need another cup of coffee before we get started.
Oh,
Same
go
here.
ahead. All right, go ahead then.
Yeah, and I'll let my
You really?
dog
Okay.
All right, fine.
Yeah,
Sure.
go ahead. I think it's because we're on separate networks. Yep, that's probably it. Fixes the issue. No, you guys are still frozen. Damn it. You can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. It's just unusually quiet.
Well, maybe you can convince Nick to leave his hat there when he gets back and make it a little more tolerable environment for everyone else.
Yeah. Okay.
Wasn't he hanging something like that over his microphone that time he knocked the beer over when there was beer spilled?
I think he was hanging his headphones on
His
his
headphones, yeah.
microphone stand, which is not recommended. Clearly.
Liz, your audio cut out just at the right time for me. To me, I heard you say, didn't he hang his headphones on back when he spilled his beer? And it sounded like you said something maybe
Yeah.
a little less appropriate.
Maybe I did. I'm known to do that.
Still acting up, people. Gosh darn it, that's no
Is
good.
this is this the Mac Mini that's acting up?
Yeah, this is it's not the. I don't think it's the Mini's fault. It's because I'm using my EFB as my screen that have my camera mounted on, so that I can kind of sort of look into the camera.
Understand.
And I don't usually have this issue with this.
That's fust waiting.
It is. Okay. Let me do this. Just do a hard restore. I'm using Sidecar for those people that have Mac and the new operating system, and my Sidecar is not behaving.
Your sidecar's gone off the road.
Yeah, it's gone off the
It's
road.
detached from the motorcycle.
Exactly. It's on its own. I don't know what it's doing. I mean, I don't have to have it. It just makes things easier for me. I can always just look. Of course, I'll be looking down the whole show if I don't have it. Okay. Deanna's here, our veterinarian. She's supposed to be
having
at
a snow
work,
day.
but she's having a snow day. Yeah, it's probably. She's up there in Brunswick, right?
Carolina.
No, not Brunswick. The Burlington, the coat factory. Okay. Oh, it looks like everything is working again, maybe.
Oh, good, good, good.
Back
Yeah,
up
apparently now
here.
that there's so much virtual school that snow days aren't happening anymore. It's very disappointing for kids because snow days were so
I know.
exciting.
Every day's a school day, whether you want it or not.
Exactly. Just not fair.
All right. There we go. There we go.
Come on, man.
Okay, let's lasso those two other co-hosts and get them back here.
They're obviously brewing. They're roasting the beans.
Right.
Yeah, just don't tell Steph.
Coat Factory.
Oh, she was listening.
Chat room reference. What?
Oh, maybe not.
No, I was not
Yeah,
listening.
Yeah,
North
I was saying-
Carolina.
I was saying
Yeah.
Deanna, and I said she's
Oh,
in,
yeah, yeah.
and then I thought
Coat Factory.
At first I said Brunswick, and I said no, it starts with a B. It's Burlington, like the coat factory.
Yeah, sorry.
He's got another hat on. Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
It's going to show off his whole hat collection.
Oh, I hope not. We'll be here all day.
I know.
It is
He
quite
has a
extensive.
lot of hats.
Three.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole front entrance is all lined with those hats.
Oh, we should find that picture of me wearing that. What was
Oh,
that straw
yes,
hat?
the little boater thing. I've got it. Just a minute. I'll send
Yeah.
it to you.
I love that hat.
I do too. You look great in it too.
Here's my Australian hat.
Ah, yeah, kind of similar. Yeah, flatter brim. But yeah.
It is. This one. But I also have a proper side hat, but I don't know, which do you prefer? Australian? I think I'll stick with Australian. It's more me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't.
Anyway,
half
I'm
you,
all
right?
set.
You're half Australian, correct?
Yes, I am indeed. I'm
There
not
it
sure
is.
which half. But,
I can guess.
well, being down under, it's probably the bottom half, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
There you go, Jeff. I just sent it to you.
Oh, okay.
G'day, Craig. G'day, Deanna.
Craig in Montana.
Kim. Oh,
Out
that's a
in
good.
Montana.
You've got a
Big
good crowd in
Frozen
today.
again.
Big sky country.
Okay, having an issue again.
Oh,
Man.
That sounds unlike things that happen here.
Unusual. That sounds like as unusual as the audio hijack needing an update on Steph's computer.
well, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Ooh, it is nasty
So-
outside right now. It
Is
just
it?
got really windy,
Oh boy.
and it's like sleeting sideways.
How well is your roof tacked on?
Well, the roof is tacked on well, but there's a lot of big trees around me.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's generally the big problem with like ice storms.
Yeah.
Everybody gets worried about the driving, but it's like
It's
the
the
accumulation of ice.
ice
and
on the
wind
branches,
on
and
the
then wind, and
branches,
then it all falls down. Yeah,
falls
Yeah,
on
that
houses,
sounds- that looks
falls
about
on
right
the-
there,
Falls on
Liz.
trees.
yeah.
If a tree falls on you, Steph, we'll all be able to call 911 for you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You're
Someone's got my address. Send them.
Yeah,
They probably
I
can't
got
get here.
They won't be able to get there, yeah. Unless they all drive Jeeps, pink ones.
Yeah. Well, I did tell the story. I'm sure I've told the story before of the last time we had a really significant snowfall in the Charlotte area. We got like 8 inches at my house, and my neighbor's carport caught on fire, and the fire department showed up with chains on the tires on the truck.
Oh my God!
All right.
Oh yeah, nothing was plowed. I mean,
Wow, well done them.
Well, I see that the wind is kind of riling them
Yes,
up.
yeah. The dogs are not
I'm sure
happy.
that's what it is. Like, there's things making noise outside, and they're just barking aimlessly at things.
Jen's asking you how much ice have you got, do you think? Oh, there he is in his hat.
Yes.
That's a
It
you
looks
call
like
that?
most surfaces have
That's
about
a-
a half an inch of ice on them. I mean, it's like more sleet than just straight ice. It looks like snow, but it's not snow. But some of the areas that were like the surfaces that were colder to begin with, it looks closer to an inch.
An inch is a lot of ice.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like icy. I don't know. If I took a picture of it, it looks like snow. It's not snow.
Ice pellets. No, it's ice
Yeah.
pellets. Yeah,
Sleet.
got it.
Definitely sleet. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I'm sorry.
How's everybody doing there in the chat room?
Yeah, we're having the usual fun here.
They've nodded off.
There's nobody in the chat room anymore. Okay. We'll wait till she comes back, and then we'll do our...
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
That sounds good here.
Yep.
Still
sounds
good?
good to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Very faint in my ears, but that's okay, as long as
Yeah.
it sounds
Don't
good
be
on the
turning
screen.
that up now.
I won't. I didn't touch it. Didn't
touch
touch
it. Can't touch that.
May I make a request, Liz?
Yes, sir.
During the plane tour, could you turn off the Acme logo in the top right corner? Because that will cover some bits of the
Can I do
images.
that? Do I know how
Yes,
to
you
do that?
can.
I'll do
Jeff
that.
Jeff can do that.
Yeah, it's just a
It's in the
top
same,
under
top
logo. The logo ones instead of the overlay ones
Oh,
are
I
on the
see it.
same
Oh, yeah, I got
brand
it.
page.
Yeah, I just
Got
turned
it.
it off. Now it's on, now off. Yeah.
There
Yeah,
you
so
go.
it's like a one-stop shop there. You just hit that thing first and then do the
Got it.
overlays for...
Thanks.
Sweet, huh?
Got it.
Or you could
Thanks
do
very
this.
Every day's a
Powered
school
by
day.
StreamYard.
Yes.
Or this.
Ah, look, there's a little Captain Jeff.
The neighbors are sledding down the driveway, which is what the dogs are barking at.
Oh, right, okay.
People having fun. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, how dare they?
You guys all
How
in your
dare they?
you guys in your
What?
fancy hats. There's a
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yeah,
That
way
is
to
the
go.
best one. There we go.
Yeah,
Now that's a fancy hat.
that is one hell of a hat.
Okay, we ready to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Woohoo!
Okay.
The resignation in Jeff's voice.
Yeah.
I guess.
He's not good
I
at hiding it, is he?
suppose.
Let's do this.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So, 26.
Yep.
Here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 505.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Lake Burton, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 16th of January, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a Boeing 747 rejects takeoff at high speed at LAX. LA police rescue the pilot of a downed Cessna seconds before a train destroys the plane. More news, your feedback, and today's plane tale, sidewinders and sparrows. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 505 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins in...
New York City.
Yeah, New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, GA. And joining us today from her lakeside studio in South... She's a doctor, skydiver, marathon runner, sprint training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument-rated backstabbing jumper-dumper, Dr. Steph.
Howdy, Captain Jeff. Glad to see
Howdy.
you all this fine Sunday morning. Looking forward to a great show.
I am as well, and also joining us from his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Perfect.
G'day, mate. If you want to get ahead, get a hat.
Okay. And if you have a head, then you need a hat. Okay. Also, joining us from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier, and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer-director, it's Liz Piper.
Hey, everybody.
All right. And also, joining us again from Wichita, the air capital. He's an aerospace engineer and one of the crew members of the C-47 Betsy's Biscuit bomber. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey guys, glad to be able to join you again.
We are too. All right. And with that, let's get right into the news. Lot to talk about today.
Stand by for news.
All right, I'm going to play a bit of video, and hopefully it'll just be kind of B-roll kind of thing while I talk about this incident. So let me add this
before
to the
fire's on
screen.
scene, but you're gonna come on, look at the smoke, get the
I don't
call.
want to hear you. Thank you very much. Okay, now you can see the B-roll in the background of an airplane on fire. On fire! An Aviastar TU Tupolev, not Tupelo, that's in Mississippi, Tupolev, TU-204 registration Romeo Alpha 64032, performing freight flight 6534 from Hangzhou, China. I'm probably saying that wrong. How do you say? Hangzhou? Hangzhou. To Novosibirsk, Russia, with 8 crew and 20 tons of general cargo. And somewhere I read it was like vodka, and 26 tons of fuel. I don't know, maybe that was a joke. Was being pushed back for departure when an open fire started in the cabin. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody was trying to warm themselves up.
As opposed to a closed fire?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, sometimes this happens like when like Islamic pilgrims go to make their pilgrimage to Mecca, and they make little fires in the back. I remember there was an incident several years ago that somebody had an open fire in the back. Yeah, I love that grilled food. Anyway, had 26 tons of fuel as well. Was being pushed back for departure when an open fire started. Emergency services responded upon arrival of emergency services. About 2 minutes after the emergency call, the fire had already broken through the crown of the aircraft. The crew evacuated safely. The aircraft was damaged beyond repair. And is the video still playing? Okay. Nope, it isn't. Okay, so we're showing some pictures now of the incident, and yeah, I'm thinking with a little speed tape, that thing will be
buff right out.
Good as new. Yeah, buff right out. That's about all the information we have on this so far. I don't know. Have you seen anything else to kind of indicate why this thing caught on fire?
No, I had a quick look around to see if there'd been any updates, but nothing that I could find.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we'll find out something before long, because
Yeah.
This sort of thing really needs to get out so that all the cargo carriers, all the airlines around the world can have some idea of how to protect themselves against something similar occurring on their aircraft. I have to say that this incident sent absolute shivers down my back, because if a fire of that severity had happened in the air, of course there would have been the loss of the aircraft and all the crew. As it was, they were probably any quarter of an hour perhaps from getting airborne, and the situation would have been so different. So thank the Lord it happened when it did, and the crew could simply jump out of the aircraft and run away bravely. Run
away!
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that it's a cargo aircraft may indicate that it was something that ignited that wouldn't normally be carried on a passenger aircraft, because a lot of the most dangerous items are cargo aircraft only. But we've no knowledge, we've no information as to what it was that ignited, so we can't really say that yet.
Yeah, we don't know if it was batteries or anything. I mean, it could have been anything, but...
Well, Luis, in the comments on by the way, this is from the Aviation Herald, says the cargo was vodka, and that is the truth.
Well, there you go.
And he says it's the truth. It's on the internet, so that's
must be true.
It's got to be. Not fake news at all. Nope. All right. Well, we will find out.
We've had vodka burners before on the show, haven't we? I remember someone called a Russian airplane a vodka burner, but yeah. And Captain Al apparently has had pilgrims try to light barbecues on board.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Captain Al. Glad you joined us in the audience, along with everybody else. By the we don't say that enough. Most people, like 90-something% of the folks that listen to the Airline Pilot Guy show, do it via the audio-only version. But you should check out our live video recording at some point, because it's a lot of fun. People hang out in the chat room and they have a good time. At least they seem to be having a good time. They make snarky comments. Yes.
They seem to be.
Yeah.
They're just placating us. Yes.
Yeah, well, they're gluttons for punishment, obviously.
And I'll just real quick before this passes by, since you mentioned Captain Al, he did want to send good wishes to colleagues in Tonga. No communication still from that part of the world after that volcanic eruption yesterday.
Really? Oh, that's no good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a big volcanic explosion that sent a shockwave entirely around the world. I hear it right now. Wow, it sounds a lot like a dog barking, this shockwave.
Could not get to the mute button fast enough.
That dog barking is the sound of an A320 with an engine shut down.
Oh, that sounds very much like that, actually. Anyway, our prayers and thoughts and prayers go to the folks living in Tonga, if they're still alive, and the folks that have friends and family over there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's just a communications blackout and most everyone is okay, we're hoping. Okay, let's see. Let's move on with this next item, final report. It was an accident, Kalitta 747-400 at Los Angeles on the 3rd of February 2020. They rejected a takeoff due to a trash bin, or trash can, we like to say in the cowboy world, on the runway. The crew rejected takeoff at high speed, about 110 knots over the ground, after colliding with an object on the... Oh, my screen just went out again. All right, I'll just look down here then instead. Collided with an object on the runway. The aircraft slowed and stopped on the runway. The crew reported severe damage to the aircraft after hitting something big on the runway. They were considering to evacuate the aircraft and requested assistance to check the aircraft for damage and fire. Tower reported there was excessive smoke coming from the nose gear while slowing to a stop. Emergency services responded and found a trash bin that had been blown onto the runway and it hit the nose gear of the 747. Both tires of the nose gear had blown as a result. The occurrence aircraft is still on the ground in Los Angeles, 11 hours after this was the original thing that happened in February of 2020. And Liz, I wasn't looking. Did you put we have a picture of the trash can, actually. There it is on the runway. It looks like a very happy...
It's Dusty Bin.
It's up to no good, for sure.
We had a quiz program in the United Kingdom where that was their kind of mascot. So we're well familiar with Dusty Bin.
So Nick, did this remind you of anything at all when you were reading this incident?
I'm trying to think what it might be, but the first thing I thought was like one of these. So this is the trash can from under my desk. The only thing it reminded me of was one of our aircraft that landed at at an airport in the Caribbean, and they had an overflow of a local river, and they thought that a big cargo container had drifted onto the river, onto the runway in this water. The crew landed at night. They had no idea that they were landing into about a 6 or 9 inch deep water flood. And in fact, it turned out that it was purely the weight of water that had so badly damaged the belly of the aircraft when it was splashed up from the gear on the nose wheel. Is that what you were thinking of, Jeff? Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry. Liz knows because she thought of it immediately, and as well as I. It involved, let me give you some hints. 2 years ago, little more than 2 years ago, July of 2019, a purple trash bin, plastic trash bin.
Nick's erased
Oh,
this
the
from
one
his
that
memory.
hit the RV you just paid.
No,
so much.
I think we hit it.
I think it was radio controlled. It made a beeline for the front of this very expensive RV on our way to Oshkosh.
We had just picked up the darn RV, a Class A diesel pusher, this big giant thing. I forgot how many thousands of pounds this thing weighs, like 40-something thousand pounds. It's 42, 43 feet long. We're going down the freeway west of Chicago, one of those bypass freeways. Steph, you probably know which one, but we're.
I think you were on the Tri-State 294 or 9094.
That sounds right. I don't know, but anyway,
You're going towards Wisconsin, and you weren't
yes,
that
we
far
were
out of the city.
And we were going along, and we're in the middle lane, and to the left are 18-wheelers, or what you would call over in your part of the world, Nick, lorries, right? HGVs, heavy goods vehicles. Anyway, big trucks.
Yeah, a lorry's an unarticulated one normally.
Oh, okay. Well, these are like with the tractor trailer kind of combination.
Yeah.
Big. We call them 18-wheelers or tractor trailer trucks.
We can't count that fast.
Semi, yeah. And then over on the right side was another lane of traffic, a bunch of pickups and cars and whatever. And so we're in the middle, and there's a pickup truck directly in front of us, and we're driving along. Woo-hoo, we're having fun. And then all of a sudden, this purple trash can comes flying out of the back of this pickup truck, and it's like right in the lane in front of us. I'm thinking, oh, what am I gonna do? I can't go to the left. I can't go to the right. I just got to keep on going. And so I just kind of held on and thinking, I hope this works out. And what my co-pilot, sitting over this guy down over here, he was screaming. He was going, ah! I looked over. It's not helping.
Well, it's the only thing I could contribute at the time.
Thank you for your contribution. It really was it was funny. It really was.
In
retrospect. And I'm thinking, well, I hope that didn't do any damage. And
it made a big whack when it clobbered the front, disappeared underneath, and we never saw it again. So
no. Thankfully, it was
You
made
actually
of
drug it
plastic.
around all the way up to Wisconsin and back to Chicago, unbeknownst to anybody.
yeah.
It was an experience for sure. But
It was,
anyway,
indeed.
that's what I thought of when I read this. I'm thinking, oh yeah, trash can. In fact, Liz reminded me of it. Okay.
But it turned out this was a garbage dumpster. I mean, that sounds like a pretty big piece of kit.
Oh,
Yes.
garbage dumpster.
Not just
Yeah.
not just
So
a trash
like a
can,
big
a
steel.
dumpster.
Yeah.
The NTSB, in their final report, said an unavoidable collision with a garbage dumpster that had blown into the path of the airplane. Oh, God. During the takeoff roll.
That's what they're called, Nick. Airplanes.
Aircraft.
So that's one of those things that when I say you have the aircraft, I always have to think to myself, am I supposed to say airplane or aircraft?
You have
Try round it.
controls.
Yeah. Well, no, there's some like specific verbiage that we have to use. We're supposed to use, and I usually say you have the airplane, but then the first officer usually says I have the aircraft. I'm thinking, oh yeah, that. You have that. Okay. we're moving on now. So the winds, I'm thinking, well, the winds must have been pretty high. 15 gusting to 28 from 340. So these runways are most, east-west runways. So, almost a direct crosswind that blew that dumpster. Dumpsters are usually like metal.
Yeah, but a lot of times they're on wheels.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So
if it was rather light, like if it didn't have a lot of stuff.
It was heading across the taxiway, around the corners, and onto the runway. I've escaped. Whack!
So we're keeping with the old cowboy theme here. I love it.
Yeah, I would say so, yes.
The Bonanza theme song in the background. We'll probably get
there you go.
tagged.
Probably.
Yeah. Liz is making a good point. Was she making that just to me or to
She
everyone?
made it to the chat room and everybody else too.
Okay, good. I couldn't because I don't have I don't have enough screen real estate anymore to see everything. So dumpster fire. We should have done that in the wrong opposite order that we did. Oh well.
Mm-hmm. Well.
Yeah.
Dumpster fire describes a lot of things.
That might be a good show title too.
Yeah, I could do artwork for that. That wouldn't be hard.
That's all over the internet. You just have to steal someone's dumpster fire picture.
All right, well, let's get this dumpster fire going some more. Let's pour some more fuel on this darn dumpster fire and talk about this interesting occurrence that just happened not long ago. This is from thedrive.com. This was sent in to us from Jonathan in Minneapolis. A weird situation developed out on the West Coast on Monday. For 7 to 20 minutes, most of the air traffic control outlets, or whatever you want to call them, agencies, up and down the West Coast. Facilities, that's the word. Thank you, Steph. ATC's facilities up and down the West Coast went to ground stop. And by the way, it was not even just the West Coast, it was also Hawaii. Some seem to come close to a local ATC zero sort of situation, unlike anything we've seen in 20 years. It was short-lived, or lived if you prefer, but timed exactly with the launch of a North Korean ballistic missile. Of course, that's a semi-regular occurrence, and this sort of ground stop is not, so it seems something might have at least looked different at first blush. So far, no word from the FAA or U.S. Strategic Command. What do you all make of this? Now, since he sent this feedback to us, there was an official statement from the FAA. As a matter of precaution, the FAA temporarily paused departures at some airports along the West Coast on Monday night. Full operations resumed in less than 15 minutes. The FAA regularly takes precautionary measures. We are reviewing the process around this ground stop as we do after all such events. Nobody screwed up, so don't try to tell us likewise.
It's all those cowboys in the FAA.
That's it. The cowboys and the FAA. I have a little bit of audio from a couple of places. I think the first part of this audio is from up near Van Nuys, Burbank area, and let's play that. And then the second part of it is from San Diego.
Zero Mike Echo, I need you to go and land at Van Nuys at this time. Some sort of national security threat's going on, and we are not allowing aircraft to maneuver in the area at the moment. Are you able to land at Van Nuys?
Has there been any domestic incidents, major incidents, critical incidents in the last 20 minutes, half hour in the U.S.? I know it's a silly question. Okay. SoCal Approach, which is one of our major controlling agencies for the FAA, is grounding all aircraft. It looks like entire Southern California, and I'm trying to find out why.
After just run forward check stand, nothing's been posted yet, but I'm still checking.
I'm not really sure exactly what that was at the very end. I did listen to it several times. Okay. Yeah. So, what do you think of this? Kind of exciting.
Sounds like there was some sort of credible threat that fortunately did not seem to appear, and credible enough that they felt like aircraft should be on the ground and not take off. I don't know.
I reckon they heard that Nick was going to get airborne.
Sensible.
Now, it kind of reminds me of something that happened, I think it was back in 2018 in Hawaii. Somebody accidentally...
that's right, yeah. There was like an accidental...
they set off the text emergency.
Yes. Emergency text by
basically saying missiles are on the way.
Right.
Take cover and kiss your, you know what's, goodbye. I go, oh, never mind.
Just kidding.
Sorry.
No. I didn't mean to push that button. That big red button that says "Do not push" in case it's an emergency. I accidentally pushed it. I'm sorry.
Oopsies.
Yes.
Sorry.
My bad.
Yeah, but it does. It is kind of a coinkydink that North Korea had supposedly launched some kind of a hypersonic missile. I don't know. Just everybody's being hush hush. Oh, Jen Niffer says, was it to clear the airspace in case the U.S. needed to scramble a response? Perhaps. That would be a yeah. I don't know, Jen. From Tales from the Terminal. I don't know. What do you all think? Nick Camacho, you're in the aerospace industry, so you would know exactly everything.
Yeah. No, so I was actually kind of curious too, kind of similar to what Jen Niffer asked there, about what what the advantage to grounding all the airplanes was. Obviously, back in 2001, the idea with grounding everything was they were trying to reduce the number of threats. But I was kind of curious as to if it would, like she said, if it would make a response easier, whether we have some sort of defense system that they thought they would be able to utilize and it would be easier to use, or, sure, it seems like that's such a vast area that it'd be difficult to...
the time it would take to clear that airspace would be greater than the time needed to mount the
Right.
response.
Yeah, and especially if you're dealing with like one or two or three or however many threats it is, short of like being attacked by a force coming in, it seems like it'd be like a pinpoint thing where like they maybe have to worry about one city here or there, but it seems like it was just a painting with a broad brush there. So I don't know if that was more for our response or what the thought process was there. Also, I would think that, or I guess I would hope as an American that we would be dealing with that threat like before it got to the United States rather than when it gets here. So.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. I just wanted to see that picture again because there's one of my old A340s parked there at LA, Los Angeles, LAX. I was just having a moment there. A little tear was dripping down my trouser leg.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I was supposed to laugh.
What was dripping down?
Inappropriate response. I call that one back. I will try again. Oh.
Yeah, what was dripping down where? What? I'm sorry, I missed that.
A little tear was rolling down. Yeah, thanks. I was having a little memory there.
Yeah.
Little senior
Well, you
moment.
have your little moments the entire show every week.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. Those DVTs are getting worse.
What
Your
are you
blood
singing,
clots?
Liz?
What?
Yeah. Those thrombosis.
Oh, memories.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Liz is serenading me with memories.
Oh, that better show up in the final edit.
Yeah, well, it'll be in the final edit for sure. Edit. Okay. Well, let's move on, shall we? Hopefully, we'll find out what happened there in that.
No, you won't.
No. That's never going to be
It's
discussed ever
secret.
again. Yeah,
Absolutely. And even if you knew the right answer, no one would admit to it.
True.
Yeah, I might know. But
Yeah,
I can't
I
tell
do
you. And
know,
if I did,
but
then I'd have to kill all of you. And there's a lot of people listening right now, so I'd have to track down a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But you've got Fred on the case. He'll be able to do
That's
that.
right.
He's very good at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. I guess I should set this up before I play this video. This was sent in by Logan and Dominic, and
probably
Lucas
seen by
also.
a fair number of you already.
Yeah, I'm
You'll
sure
know what we're
everybody's
talking
already
about
seen
here.
this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So they say, did you see this? This is a very frustrating story, and this is from avweb.com. The FAA is investigating a controversial crash video. The FAA has confirmed it's investigating the circumstances of a video purporting to show the November crash of a 1940 Taylorcraft posted by YouTuber Trevor Jacob. The FAA is investigating this event, the agency said in a statement issued Monday. The agency does not discuss open investigations. The video prompted an explosive and generally harsh reaction from commenters on YouTube and on various forums. Many are calling for an investigation into the production of the video. A few are calling it fake. Most, I think, are. And plenty have analyzed it frame by frame to support their accusations about its authenticity. Jacob, whose YouTube channel says he has 126,000 subscribers, has not responded to an email request for comment. We also contacted a woman with a similar name and address to those of the registered owner of the aircraft, but have received no response. In the 17-minute video, shot November 24th, but posted a month later, Jacob says he's flying to Mammoth, up in Northern California, to spread the ashes of a friend. He apparently took off from Lompoc Airport and the... Did I get that right, Nick? C? Lompoc?
Yeah, Lompoc.
Lompoc, okay. And the crash was reported to have taken place in Los Padres National Forest near Cayuma, California, or Cayuma, about 50 miles north of Santa Barbara. There is commentary on the weather and reference to his deceased friend, but no description of the circumstances of the alleged engine failure. Video from 3 angles show him straining to open the door before diving headfirst behind the strut, never letting go of a selfie stick. Okay.
That's what I do in emergencies. Make sure I got the selfie stick.
Yeah. The cameras also cover what appears to be a crash sequence. After landing in some scrub brush with a few cuts and scrapes, he makes his way to his crashed aircraft, with the camera still rolling. There's more of him hiking out and finally running into other people. The video ends with him climbing a mountain days later to launch a paraglider to finally spread the ashes of his friend. By Monday, the video had attracted almost 100,000 views. I'm sure it's a lot more than that by now. And then Lucas James sent some feedback saying, hey guys, in addition to the parachute, or a parachute, we should all fly with a fire extinguisher up each pant leg. And let's see if we can kind of show you that. Yeah, some slides, please. Here's him falling out of the airplane, or jumping out of the airplane, or whatever you want to call it. So stay right there. There is a very large, bulky object in the lower part of his pant leg. Don't get too excited.
Yes, near his ankle. Let's be very clear, near his ankle.
Yes, near his
Calf
ankle and his
area.
calf area. A very bulky thing that looks a lot like a fire extinguisher. Why don't you hit the next slide, Liz? There we go. Again, you can see the regulator. Anyway, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, let's play a little. I'm not going to play the entire video because it's quite long. But we'll see. I don't know. It kind of looks a little suspicious to me. So here we go. Obviously, he's taking off in the Taylorcraft. I mean, if he did actually fake this, what a waste of a
Beautiful
historic airplane.
Yeah.
Okay, so that people have mentioned that the door. On the way to Mammoth, beautiful day. The doors. His friend's ashes. The door is already propped open. I don't know if that's normal or not for flying around.
Is it the door or just the window? Yeah. The door actually is. It looks
I think
like
the whole door was open.
Yeah, it does.
And then,
Yeah, the door's definitely propped open.
Uh-oh. Oh, wait, not yet. Okay, now. Oh, the engine stopped. They're over the mountainous terrain. And he's kind of...
Why is he...
I don't know.
That's not really how you trim for best glide, I
Why
wouldn't
is he
think.
holding the yoke?
Why is he pulling
against his
back?
chest?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then
I mean,
immediately nah, I'm not going to figure this out. I'm just...
He didn't even turn the airplane to kind of look for maybe something that he could...
check, make sure the fuel's still on, make sure, go through all of your... There's this
Okay.
whole series of things you would do to try and restart your engine here.
Yeah. Oh, and he's just saying, oh, beep, oh, beep, oh. And then he And he jumps out. Got a lot of great camera angles.
He's got at least 3 GoPros on the outside of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was one on the tail. There's one on the.
So
closer to the door there.
The prop is not spinning at all.
At all.
By the way,
No.
I think that's an important note. I'll mention later.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh yeah.
And so here he goes. Oh, okay. So let's watch that again. He is jumping out, and now he's pulling the sport parachute that he has.
I like that he left with his headset attached.
Yeah,
to
his
him.
headset attached to this person still.
Well, that's kind of an expensive thing. You don't want to.
I was going to say, they
lose
cost
that
a few
crash.
dollars.
And then we're going down. He's looking for a place to land. He's still.
He's got some pretty significant altitude there.
Yeah.
Yeah, tons of altitude.
Let's just make that perfectly clear. Lots of altitude.
Okay. And then, so now he's got the parachute inflated, and he's looking at his airplane, newly purchased airplane, flying in the distance, and then crashing into the side of one of these mountains.
Prop is spinning again.
Yep.
Oh, huh.
Odd, yeah.
Wow, that is kind of weird. Oh, here we go. We got a nice view of the crash with one of the GoPros mounted, and then, of course, from his vantage point. Yeah. And here we go, and boom. Oh, let's see that. again.
Oh, we got more angles though.
Yeah. Let's see it from a different angle. Yeah. And then, of course, we see him making his parachute landing. Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. Yep. Oh, look, he's on the ground. Oh.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Really good assessment of where he'd
Yeah,
like to
just
land there too.
Okay, so we have so much to talk about here, I think. I don't know. It looked pretty real to me.
That's what the Academy Award ceremony, they said that. So his acting ability, I think he deserves one of those.
Who carries his friend in a plastic zipper bag? I'd be so offended.
Yeah. I mean, isn't there a law about throwing things out of airplanes, or are you allowed to just go around distributing ashes out of an aircraft?
I think we can do that. We're a bunch of cowboys here.
I
Yeah.
think there might be something in California about ashes, but you can, as far as the FAA, you can. The FAA rule is something like, as long as you're not endangering people on the ground.
You can drop things from airplanes as long as you're not endangering persons or things on the ground.
Yeah, like toilet paper and stuff like that. I mean, you think I'm joking, but I mean, they have like contests or something like that.
Yep, they throw toilet paper out and cut them streaming, or flower bombing and.
Okay, that's why I couldn't get any toilet paper when the pandemic started.
It's all for people throwing
We're
it
just
out of
wasting
airplanes.
it needlessly by dropping it out of airplanes.
Absolutely.
Yep. So you made a point, Nick Camacho, regarding the prop. What's significant about you made that point about it stopping and then spinning again.
This airplane, this Taylorcraft, is very similar to a Luscombe that me and my dad have. It's like a 2-seat high wing sport airplane. Same engine, very similar performance. And our airplane doesn't have a starter. And so I have actually, back when I started flying it, a couple of times we have shut the engine off and then done an air restart. So, restarted in the air just so I could see what that was like. And to get the prop to stop in that airplane, the prop doesn't just stop. We had to stall the airplane either 2 or 3 times to get the prop slow
completely
enough
stopped, yeah,
for it to stop.
Close enough, yeah.
Because when you're flying, if the airplane isn't in a stalled condition, you have forward airspeed, and that forward airspeed is going to keep windmilling the prop. So it basically reverses the process. Instead of the engine driving the propeller now starts driving the engine components, but you still have the same effect of it's a screw shape and it's moving through the air, so it keeps spinning. So to counteract that, you got to get it super slow. So when I first saw that, like when I first saw this video, I was like, oh, that's odd. The prop stopped. But maybe he had like like catastrophic engine damage. There is a
Yeah, so
possibility where
seized.
Yep.
if
sure.
something happened inside the engine, they would have seized. But then he jumps out of the airplane, and now the airplane, points for its trimmed airspeed, and it's going to be trimmed different when he's out of the airplane. And obviously, it speeds up and it starts spinning again. When I did it, the propeller started spinning again at about 120 miles an hour. So it seems very odd that you would have that state unless you were attempting to make the airplane do that.
And he does actually show the video just prior to that point. He's not pushing forward, trimming for best glide, presumably in the aircraft. He's actually pulling back on the yoke. So thereby reducing airspeed.
Yeah, that would indicate to me that he's got the aircraft trimmed forward. So he's holding the yoke back against that trim force so that after he abandons it, the aircraft goes into a descent. If he'd actually trimmed it out and abandoned it, the aircraft might well have climbed until it stalled, and it would have been quite unpredictable as to where it had gone.
Sure.
But
Yep.
It would
because
have been
he
much
had
more
it in
difficult to
that
film it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Because he had it trimmed forward, it would have been a lot safer for him to abandon it.
Yeah.
Did he do that with something else in mind? Or?
Well, and another thing to note, and I'll let Steph touch on like all of the parachute stuff, but it's a small airplane. He's wearing a parachute, so he's already sitting like way forward of anybody who ever flies these airplanes, because nobody wears parachutes in these airplanes.
Nobody. Well, not in those airplanes, but
he does mention, and I think in the video somewhere, saying, "Hey, you should always wear. I always wear a parachute. You should always wear a parachute." And then some people say, "Well, if you look at a lot of his other videos, he's not wearing a parachute all the time."
Yeah, I think his comment was something like, "Oh, I'm a skydiver, so I always have my rig with me when I fly." Just to, no, and that's not something that we do. There are aircraft. So if you're going to be doing, a lot of an aircraft that does a lot of aerobatic type stuff, there are pilot bailout rigs that are commonly worn. Typically, they have a round parachute in them. And we use those flying jumpers in smaller aircraft. Has to do with the STC, the supplemental type certificate on the door modifications in certain aircraft require the pilot to be wearing a bailout rig as well.
I think the FAA actually requires anybody in an airplane that jumpers are going out of to wear a parachute, because we actually have to wear them in the C-47 when the doors open, even though there's like absolutely no way we're going to get sucked out of the door.
It has to do as far as I know, it's specifically for this. It has to do with the specific STC for the door modifications, because not all of them require it. So,
really?
Yeah, but I don't know more details than that, and someone hopefully maybe can tell me more about that, because I've looked and I can't find. It's just hard to get specific concrete information on that, and that's the best I've come up with so far. So we do for certain jump operations. Even if we're not planning on anything ever happening, there's certain aircraft where we do have to wear our bailout rigs as well. But if we are just ferrying, the aircraft from point A to point B, like our 182 or other aircraft, even though our pilots are all jumpers as well, we're not taking our rigs with us because we're not planning to open the door. We're not planning on having anyone get out of the airplane. It's not a necessary thing. So it is odd that someone would wear their nice sport parachute, which is very different and much more difficult to sit in a small single-engine airplane seat with it. It's just not. The bailout rigs are actually. They almost look like a seat back. They're packed in such a way that it's pretty flat, and it almost has like some of them have a little seat cushion on the bottom of it to get the rest of the parachute in there, depending on how it's packed and folded and designed. But a sport rig, I should probably bring mine over. It's pretty bulky on the back, and you've got two parachutes in there. You've got your main and your reserve, so it's not very, it's not easy to sit in one of those seats comfortably with that on your back.
And the other thing is, the FAA requires people doing aerobatics to wear a parachute, unless you're like the only person in the airplane or something.
Right. Yeah. So we, it's not uncommon that at the drop zone where I work, local pilots who are involved in aerobatic flying will bring their bailout rigs for repacks from the riggers.
Yeah. And I think, another important thing to note is like a lot of guys. So the other use of parachutes is guys that are flying like high energy or high performance airplanes. Because if something goes wrong and you have a heavy airplane that's landing at 120 or 150 knots or whatever, you might be better off jumping out of the airplane.
Yeah.
But like this airplane is an airplane that's going to land between 40 and 50 miles an hour. You could land this airplane in a couple of 100 feet. So it seems like.
And to your point there, Nick, he's in the mountains for sure, but you can look down and see some areas that might look more favorable, if you were to investigate them a little bit closer. And he had, I don't know exactly what his altitude was there, but he had enough time for the video might be edited in certain ways, but he had at least a 15-20 second free fall before he even deployed his parachute.
Yeah,
which tells me he's got plenty of altitude.
Yeah, and you can see a couple of areas as the airplane is of the video of the UAV now flying down. You can see some areas in the background that would totally be landable in that sort of airplane, and it looks
at least worth investigating maybe a little bit closer before you decide to bail out. Right.
And of course, that brings us on to the question that if it was he deliberately abandoned the aircraft, that is a pretty large chunk of metal to do its own thing and land on someone's house. Now, most of it looked pretty remote, but I'm sure
you can't
some
guarantee
people
that.
live around there.
You can't guarantee that it's remote. You can't guarantee there aren't people out
hill walking,
using that land, doing something odd out there.
Chasing
it's also
bears
California, and it's
doing cowboy stuff.
I don't know what the weather conditions were in terms of drought conditions, but it wouldn't take much to spark perhaps a fire, and then have.
Yes, Hillel also made the point. He's a terrible actor. I have to agree. But
I haven't even watched all of this video start to finish. I've watched bits and pieces of it here and there because it is so cringy. I just have a hard time.
I think it gets worse, Steph, if you watch
awful.
more of it.
It's terrible. Yeah, I can't watch it. I'm not impressed by anything that happened in this video.
Liz says he's up for a Razzie, which is not a good
That sounds about right.
Yeah, excellent. I know what those are. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to covering this in 6 months when we've heard the end of the court case.
Yeah, so 9113, right, is the thing that the FAA always throws around which is careless and reckless. So when you do something the FAA doesn't like, but it's not specifically against the regulations, a lot of times they'll use 9113 to
sure. Legally, did he actually do something that was wrong?
Right. Is there a regulation against crashing an airplane you own? I don't know. Probably not, but I'm not sure.
Specifically stated, but it definitely falls into that careless and reckless operation of.
Right. So that from the FAA standpoint, that'll probably be where it goes. And then from a state regulatory, that goes back to what Dr. Steph was talking about.
That's their land. Yeah.
We recently, not we, I shouldn't say, but in the state of California, they recently had a deal where there was a couple who was doing a gender reveal. And they were using some sort of pyrotechnic or firework thing during fire season, and it caused a gigantic wildfire. And they either went to jail or got charged with some sort of crime for doing that. So I could very easily see that happening in this instance as well.
Yeah, the biggest question I have about all of this is. Okay, say it actually did happen as purported. He had some sort of catastrophic engine failure. He was really just out there to spread his friend's ashes. I certainly know folks who attach a lot of GoPros to their airplanes for various reasons. They're doing formation flying, or they are doing an ash event, or they're, sometimes even these gender reveal things. I've seen those involving airplanes as well, and people get, they have lots of GoPros and they mount them all over their, so that's great, fine. Just happened to have his sport rig with him because maybe he was going to go to the drop zone after he did all of this and he was going to fly his airplane there. But if all that happens, I don't think I'd be posting my video of any of that, even if it was for quote unquote educational purposes for other pilots. That's just, no, I can't understand
that was the whole
his
point.
Because he's a YouTuber, I understand. But that if this actually happened, that's probably not something I would post to my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'd also like your opinion, Steph, on how safe it is to abandon an airplane with a GoPro on a stick. If you're actually, for real, abandoning an airplane, how...
I'm not so worried about that. We leave the airplane with all kinds of things. Pool noodles, hula hoops, Mr. Potato Heads, Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm just wondering how he had the presence of mind. If this was a real emergency,
If he's
and
got
he was
enough- if
actually
he's got enough-
abandoning his aircraft,
Yeah.
whether he'd have the presence of mind to film it all on a stick. And why would he have a GoPro on a stick in the first place?
That's
he
a
had
good
the
question.
whole airplane
Exactly.
GoPro'd up. What's the stick for?
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I think that's just more, I was just setting the scenario that if this were, something that legitimately happened for all those legitimate potential reasons, then no, it would not be. But
now, tell me
but
more
leaving
about jumping out of an airplane with a Mr. Potato Head. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, so you do a group jump, and everyone has one piece of the Mr. Potato Head, and the idea is to meet up, and everyone forms the Mr. Potato Head before you reach breakoff altitude.
You are kidding.
No, I'm serious.
Cowboys.
But I will say one more thing about this. The other thing that's, we talk a lot about safety considerations in skydiving and jumping, and the place where he bailed out here, and I'm sure part of it had to do with him wanting to land close to the aircraft to retrieve his GoPros and other things, but landing in all that brush and other stuff, it can be really hard to judge your landing. So the depth at which you'd need to flare, if there's a lot of brush and other vegetation on the side of a hill, and it's just setting you up for a lot of bad things on landing. Potentially, he could have really gotten hurt after, bailing out, being under a perfectly canopy, descending down, and then have a really bad outcome just in the last few moments of where he picked to land. I think I would have gone down to one of those valleys where it looked a lot flatter and potentially less vegetation instead of landing on the side of a hill.
Yeah.
Because he had a lot of options, because he had a lot of altitude.
He was being very responsible.
Yeah, he had to take his.
He started.
He had to take his fire extinguisher strapped to his leg down to the side of the crash so he could put out the fire that he might have
Both
started.
legs, I think.
Both legs.
Yeah.
And retrieve those GoPros. Those are a bit pricey. Never mind the airplane.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, the guy whose ashes he was spreading was a base jumper, I think. Or
Yeah, I think
monkey,
so.
Or a suit flyer, or one of those
Wingsuit
things.
flyer, yeah.
Yeah, one of those things that had gone wrong, and then.
And now
at the
he's
end-
out here doing something that could potentially go horribly
Not only
wrong.
does this, I mean, I feel like if that happened to me in an airplane, I'd probably be traumatized, at least for a little while. I would hope that I would get back into it pretty quick, but it'd probably have some effect on me. But then this guy goes out and hops on his paraglider or running or whatever it's called, the para wing, and goes out and flies off a hill and dumps the ashes that way. And that alone is not, doesn't convict him of anything,
that surprises
but it
me
seems like he
less.
has
That surprises me less.
Seems like
to
he
be
has a
honest.
different level of risk assessment.
Yeah, that surprises me less. That's the whole. Everything about this smells, stinks. It's not good.
Yeah. And Armando says, something about the FAA investigating. They are for sure investigating.
Oh, yeah.
This. Yeah.
They've already. That was the gist of this article that we were reading. Actually, is that they already are. They have opened an investigation, and they will not comment on an open investigation.
Right. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
he got busted.
Weather's still quite bad here for those
yeah.
asking in the chat room. Coming down quite heavily now. Some sort of icy, I don't even know, sleet, snow mix, and very windy.
Is it blue ice?
Thankfully, no.
Oh, good. Okay.
Or yellow.
That's good.
No, neither.
Yellow snow,
yellow
blue
snow,
ice.
blue ice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Avoid those.
All right. Well, we'll hopefully learn something.
I am curious to hear more about what the FAA thinks about this.
Yeah.
I think it will be mostly as we expect.
Yes. All right. Let's move it on to this one. This is actually something that we've kind of anticipated or thought that might occur as we move on with this pilot shortage and the requirements that most of the major airlines here in the U.S. require as qualifications to even get an interview, and that is, of course, the having that 4-year college degree. And this is from Flying Magazine. The Airline Delta removes the degree requirement for prospective pilots. The company joins other major airlines in no longer requiring a 4-year diploma. Now, I'm not sure if some of the other majors have already stopped that requirement or deleted that requirement.
I actually
or not.
think they're the first that I've actually officially seen. I think perhaps on an unofficial basis, other airlines have done this as well, especially for folks coming up through like the regionals that are wholly owned subsidiaries. I know that there's been instances where folks, and I'm thinking of specific people that I know personally who had not completed 4-year degrees, but who have been at a regional, first officer, captain capacity, and then able to get on with a major legacy carrier without having completed that. But I think those have been more on individual basis and not because of a broad policy of not requiring it, the 4-year degree. So.
This I just read a little bit more in this article here, and it says Delta joins other major airlines like Southwest, United, and American that don't require their pilots to hold a degree. So that's a surprise to me. I did not know that.
Well, there you go.
And according to the company, they said after a comprehensive review of our pilot hiring requirements, Delta has decided to make a 4-year college degree preferred rather than required for first officer candidates.
Perhaps that's the language that the other airlines use as well, preferred. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Mm-hmm.
And here's another quote. While we feel as strongly as ever about the importance of education, there are highly qualified candidates who have gained more than equivalent of a college education through years of life and leadership experience, and let's face it, even a monkey can fly an airplane.
Yes.
Yeah, especially
that's true. They could even fly spacecraft. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Well, dogs can do that, yeah. And tortoises. Don't forget the Russians sent a tortoise around the moon.
Is Acme going to follow suit? I don't know, Liz. That's a good question. We have.
I think Acme has very high standards.
We do.
Yeah.
I think they are very good at assessing the individual applicants.
And I'm going to keep my educational qualifications a secret in case someone asks me.
Oh, we're not going to ask.
Because I'm great in favor. I'm very much in favor of taking pilots because of their flying skill and their innate intelligence, not because of what they did.
Not because they have a 4-year degree and spent a lot of money on something that they may or may not.
That's true, because it does naturally exclude a lot of potentially fine pilots from a great career because they, whatever their background is or their financial situation, they were unable to go to a university and get that degree.
Well, getting your flying certifications and time and ratings and everything else is quite expensive, and you add a college degree on top of that, and you've just increased that cost exponentially.
Yeah.
Well, everybody that I know that have this as a career, we all realize that having a college degree is not a requirement for flying airplanes. It's just something that the major airlines could use as a discriminator. And that's what they've been doing for many years, but it's never been really something that was necessary. It was just a way to kind of two people have similar experience, hours, airline experience, previous to this, and it differentiates. One does have a college degree, one doesn't. So it helps them with their decision making when they're hiring. But now they're realizing that it's just no reason to have that.
I think Captain Al is saying that my degree in underwater basket weaving is not valuable, and I take offense.
Oh,
Al.
That is harsh. Sorry, Steph.
My diploma right up there.
Yes, and you're wearing an example of your basket.
I know. I made this
head.
underwater too.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Neat trick.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees that the college degree requirement was something that. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no. This guy we're seeing now on the screen. I don't know about the underwater basket weaving, but he apparently has some kind of a degree in extreme ironing.
I can't compete there. I would lose. Rick would be taken as a candidate over me every day if that was the. I can't.
All right. So anyway,
I think this is interesting. I think if you kind of look over the landscape as a whole, at least in our country, I think this is kind of the direction a lot of things are going. Seems like over the past 20 or 30 years, there's a push to get more education, and one way a lot of people did that was just set kind of arbitrary thresholds that may have been beneficial 30 years ago, but now as education gets more expensive and fields get more broad and everything, I don't think I don't know that it necessarily makes sense, so I have a degree in engineering. I think that would be partially beneficial to flying. But if I look at somebody who, maybe goes to school, well, like Dr. Steph's a perfect example, right? She went to school for a really long time. And I'm not sure.
And what good did that do her?
Well,
0.
I'm not sure how much of it is beneficial towards flying. And I know.
Well, I can tell you how much of it is beneficial for flying. All of those years of education I did.
There's got to be like one physics class or something that would help you like a tiny bit.
No, because I took, I didn't even take calculus-based physics. It wasn't a requirement. So I took like the easiest possible physics class to take to satisfy my degree requirement because I only cared about biology stuff.
Yeah, fair. But I think that, even if they said you need an aviation-based degree or an engineering-based degree, I think that'd be a little more beneficial. But at the end of the day, if you were to tell me, hey, you're going to go get on an airplane and you can either get on an airplane with a pilot with no college degree who spent the 4 years after high school flying checks in a barren at night in crummy weather, or you can get on an airline with a guy with a history degree or a political science degree, that seems like a pretty easy decision for me. Those are important degrees in their areas, in their fields of study, but it just doesn't do anything for piloting.
Just watching oh, go ahead, Nick.
Sorry. I was going to say the degree that was famous for that in our country when I was going through education was sociology. In fact, you go to the average university, over the toilet roll holder, it would have sociology degrees.
And then you throw it out the
Please
window
take
of your
one.
airplane.
Yes.
Just watching the chat room here, and we've kind of gone down one side of this conversation, and they've taken the other route a little bit in terms of some of the reasons why it probably maybe some of the justification for it. So a couple of the things that have come up. So it does show a level of motivation and perseverance. Certainly, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. It does show basically, I think Armando said it the way very succinctly, academic ability, evaluated as part of academic ability. So what is your capacity for sticking to something and being able to learn? Those are good things, but I also think that if you've come out of high school and spent all of your time doing the type of flying that Nick was just talking about and did it successfully, that probably you're also motivated and able to learn. So I think there are different ways to evaluate those things. I don't necessarily think it has to be a 4-year degree. Is it unfair to those who have gone out and gotten 4-year degrees because it was part of the requirements at a time? Maybe, maybe not. But I think all of those things need to be evaluated. I think we get very hung up on, here's our list of requirements, and they become check boxes. And it's like, tick this box, this box, this box, but without thinking about what do those achievements or, degrees or experience, what do those things really mean to the individual applicant that's applying? Has it made them the kind of candidate or pilot that you'd want flying your airplane?
And it's also kind of spawned another field of study, right? Now there are schools like SIU and Embry-Riddle and a lot of these aviation schools that have aviation degrees or aerospace management degrees. And a large chunk of the study is getting your ratings, right? Like you go to school and you take classroom classes that, deal with things like risk management and maybe airport operations and stuff like that. But also it builds the ratings into part of the degree, which is interesting. And, that does seem beneficial towards a flying career.
Sure. That seems very practical. If this is what you want to do, design a practical course of study that will also make you a better, more rounded pilot. And another one of the justifications for those 4-year degrees I was thinking of is that, if for some reason you're unable to fly, you lose your medical, have some other thing come up in life, that you have something else that you can use as a career as opposed to just flying airplanes. So I do think potentially there's some benefit there, but you could also play the other side of that coin and say, well, what can you do with your degree in sociology or underwater basket weaving that would, be a meaningful career? But a lot of other industries out there, a lot of other companies, corporations have degree requirements for folks in all kinds of fields where it may not seem necessary or reasonable. So, I still don't think it's a terrible thing. I just don't think it should be a hard and fast requirement.
Well said.
Well said. Yes. All right. I think we're all in agreement, and which is unusual. Actually,
Quick, let's find something to disagree about.
Well, I was going to counter Jen's point there that it's a bit unfair on those that had to have a degree to join, as people now can't. Just remember the seniority system there, Jen. So those guys that are in a job with a degree will be well up the seniority list. Someone joining now without a degree is going to have to do their time in the right-hand seat before they get close to their seniority. So I think that'll work its way out.
Yep. Okay. Well, very good. That was more discussion on this than I was expecting, actually. That's great. All right, let's continue with the last item in today's news notebook. And this is one
Did this guy go and get his lottery ticket afterwards?
I think he already won, to be honest.
So we have a couple of videos here which are just amazing. There was a dramatic rescue. A pilot was crashed an airplane on landing, I think they're surmising. Ended up not on the airport property, but right off of it, actually on a railroad track. And the police came to rescue this gentleman from the airplane. And let's just look at this amazing video. First is from the body cams from the police, and there is some audio, but it for some reason doesn't come in until almost toward the end of it. But let's just take a watch and listen now. Oops, that's a slide, isn't it? Okay, let me do this one. Remove, add to stream. Okay, here we go. So we see the guy in the Cessna 172 that has just crashed. It's on the railroad tracks. The cops are trying to extract him from the cockpit of the airplane. Okay. There we go. That was a close one there. They literally dragged him out of the cockpit of the airplane, and they must not have been more than 10 or 15 feet away from it when the train came by and hit the airplane. Here's another angle, another piece of video. And
I think that guy got just as lucky.
I was going to say, that was almost another casualty. A piece of airplane that came flying at them. That's amazing to me. Here, let's look at that one more time. I'm going to turn the sound off.
Big piece of airplane.
Yeah, not just like small, fragment, like,
No,
part
it
of
looked
the
like
wing
an
or something.
upper cowling or something.
Yeah,
Here we
let's
go.
see.
We hit it. Boom, and wow.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Like a cowling of some sort. Yeah.
Just like a foot or two away from taking his head off.
Uh-huh.
That's amazing. So this is in Pacoima. Did I say that right, Nixie? In the Los Angeles area.
Is that where all the cowboys live?
That's some of them.
Oh, okay. Are you sure?
Wrong.
I don't know. I think I think all of the folks here can be honorary cowboys for their bravery and efforts. Jeez.
The actions of these police, I think they're policemen, aren't they, that pulled him free?
Yeah, these were police.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. It just brings to me the contrast between that and the Potomac River disaster with the 737 that crashed there into the freezing river.
Yep.
And there were passengers drowning only feet away from emergency responders who had been ordered not to go in the water to try and rescue them because they would be putting their own lives at risk. And I remember watching that video, and I've seen it quite recently, and it brings tears to my eyes to see these guys so bravely working on that aircraft, dragging that guy out with that train only seconds away. Just makes me feel so proud of them. Well done, guys.
Yeah.
I agree.
Conductor Will in our live audience says, I'm used to telling people to keep themselves and their cars, trucks off the tracks. I guess I'll add planes to the list now. So, Will, are you really we have a real train conductor in our audience?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm always just amazed. Always run towards the direction the train is coming from. Get out of the splash zone.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
a good
Yep.
idea.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. I'll remember that next
When
time
you
I
are about
see
to
a
get run
train
over.
crash.
Well, you never know when that might come in handy, that little piece of advice. Yeah, that train was going fast. One of the people in the audience said, were they even trying to put the brake? I would probably think that it would be.
They probably didn't see it until it was. I mean, you think about the speed that train was traveling at. The train is looking at, and Conductor Will can probably provide a lot more details here, but they're looking at the signal that the safety guard is down, and they've got the all clear to continue, and that's all you can probably really see from a distance until you get much closer and realize, oh, there's actually something on the tracks blocking the tracks. It's a tough one.
Yeah, to me,
And it
looks
takes
like
a
he
long
just-
time to slow down, that much mass.
I think he actually hit the gas. These darn airplanes. I hate airplanes. It's trains.
Yeah. Airplanes are the death of trains. Let's kill more airplanes.
So,
trains good, airplanes bad.
Captain Al said, what surprised me was that due to the proximity of the railway on the airport, that ATC didn't have the means to immediately contact the train company. I just pulled up Whiteman Airport. They don't have a tower. They do, actually. Nope, just kidding. They do. They do have a tower.
Conductor
I'd be
Will says
curious.
he is a real live conductor with the only major intercity passenger railroad.
Does a conductor have to work on electric trains?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's conductors on our...
Sorry. He must be a good conductor then if he's on an electric train. Never mind.
Acme track. Yeah.
Acme track. Very nice.
Conductors conduct electricity.
No.
Yeah, Whiteman Airport does have a control tower. So maybe it had. I mean, if this had.
I drop it, Nick. Just drop it.
Yeah, well, I'll stop trying to explain my sense of humor.
That's fine. I was moving on.
Nick, see where you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say I don't know
this?
how long it takes to stop a train like that. It wasn't like a big freight train. It was a smaller passenger train.
Yeah.
Sounds like maybe the type of train that Conductor Will drives, but I think one of the articles I read said that the train hit the airplane maybe 5 or 6 minutes after the airplane had crashed, but sounded like maybe stopping those trains is not a very quick or simple process. So
No, I would kind of like to think in 2022 the police would have a very quick way to get through to the controllers of the railroad and say, you've got to close this piece of track. But apparently not.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what order of operations are there. You'd think that would happen quickly, but they're also dealing with this pilot who is obviously injured, and they're trying to attend to that. And that may be, was something that was in the process of happening, but with just a few minutes from the time that they arrive on the scene, see that it's actually on the tracks, and trying to get it could have happened, a lot faster in real time. It's easy to look back and say, well, there should have been plenty of time to call and notify, but who knows?
Liz, you're saying that Nixie has a good background info on the airport, the Whiteman Field. Is it like surrounded by huge pastures and that sort of thing, or is it kind of in a very densely populated?
Yeah, to Nick's point about Cowboys, this is it's on the kind of the north. What did we decide, Jeff? Kind of northeast corner of the greater LA area, but it is kind of a LA neighborhood, so there is really no options. And somebody made the comment about landing on the tracks, or maybe you should avoid the tracks. And kind of sadly, if you look at a picture of this area, the home and building density is just so tight around that airport that there aren't a lot of options. And a lot of times, in this instance, if you have an issue right on final or right on takeoff, the train tracks offer a straight, relatively clear most of the time, relatively flat area that you can land the airplane. So it is kind of a bummer. There was a CAP crash about a year ago there at Whiteman, and a LA City Councilwoman, started kind of pushing to close the airport because of the danger and the pollution issues. And so now when this instance happened, it seems like it's kind of reignited her passion, or reignited her push to close this airport and turn it into, I don't remember her exact words, but it's kind of like turn this airport into something more viable for the immediate population around that area, which is understandable. It's just, a little concerning, because when these small airports close, especially in a densely populated area like that, when these small airports close, they are never coming back. Like, there's no way to get an airport back in an area like that, because closing the airport, you've basically got to convince one group of people, right? Whether it's a city commission or an airport advisory board or something like that. You got to convince one group of people to close it. If you ever want to put an airport back in, and we're talking houses on quarter-acre tracts or smaller than that. So if you say, oh, well, we want to go put an airport back in somewhere, then you're talking about hundreds or thousands of people that are going to be impacted. And so there's just no good way to get these airports to come back. And obviously the safety aspect of it is a viable concern. Like I said, there's not a lot of places to land around there. But a lot of times those arguments are kind of politically driven with ulterior motives. I don't know a ton of the background with Whiteman, but a lot of people are aware of the issues that Santa Monica's had. They recently stopped selling avgas at San Martin and Reed Hillview and San Jose. So that's going to kind of cripple those airports. And, when I lived in San Luis Obispo, we had a really cool airport called Oceano Airport that was maybe a quarter mile from the beach. And it was an awesome little fly-in destination, small airport, 2,300-foot runway. And it was constantly under attack to be closed because it was prime real estate. And in that instance, there was no hiding of the aspirations or anything. There was just constantly, developers with large political clout coming in and trying to get the airport closed. So, and
large bulldozers.
Yeah.
No, that's Mayor Daley.
Oh, that's right. That's what they do in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, it's it's sad, and it's think back historically. I don't know how. I presume that in most of these cases, those airports were there a long time before the area became so grown up and developed around it, and it just makes for tough situations. But it's a shame to see those small airports disappear.
I think the sad thing is you will get one shopping mall or one big play park.
Yeah.
But you'll lose the only airport in that area.
Right.
And that airport is a means of communication for a lot of local people who otherwise would have to travel miles to get to the closest equivalent. And so it just takes out that element of infrastructure that is the only representative part there.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example, right? LA is an incredibly dense area with tons of traffic. And so there aren't a lot of airports to begin with, but if you shut an airport down and you have to travel an additional 20 or 30 miles to get to an airport, you're talking about...
That's not 20, 30 minutes of driving. That's
right. You're talking
hours.
about maybe 2 hours now. So it goes from being an opportunity to be a day trip or a morning trip to becoming now you can't run out there and grab something. So obviously from the obviously self-indulgent aspect of it, it makes it more challenging to continue to grow aviation, have young people be involved if they can't get to an airport. But also, you got to keep in mind the services that those small airports provide. A lot of people look at the GA airports and they're like, airlines don't fly in there, so they must just be used by rich people with their own airplanes, or
Yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding from the community about what these small GA airports are and mean to local.
And Whiteman's a base for I think Cal Fire helicopters, which seems like it'd be pretty significant to that population considering the stuff they've gone through the last couple of years. There's CAP base there that I think I read assist in search and rescue. Unfortunately, they were involved in the crash in 2020. But a lot of times, medical flights, a lot of the helicopter aspect of medical flights could happen a little more frequently. But the King Air and Citation type of cross country medical flights are more easily operated out of some of these smaller airports rather than trying to have to deal with a place like LAX. So there's a lot of intrinsic value to those small airports that I think a common person doesn't see. And if you have a politician say, hey, you live within a mile of an airport, do you know you're getting polluted by lead or whatever?
But Nick, all that noise, these planes are dive bombing my house all the time, and the chemtrails, they're trying to Oh, sorry, can't talk about that. But the noise is horrible. They're dive bombing my house at like 500 feet all the time, day in, day out, all hours of the night. Can't we do something about that, please?
Right.
Captain Al has a very pertinent point here. Shouldn't we be saying how dangerous it is to have trains running so close to an airport?
Good point, Captain Al.
Yeah. And what was the other thing, Liz? Okay. All right, here we go. Conductor Will says, the trouble
I put it up and then Liz put it up after me. Sorry. I removed it to put up Al's thing. And then sorry, Liz. I knew where we were.
I hadn't gotten it memorized yet, so okay, here we go. The trouble I find is many law enforcement don't think the first action is to call the railroad. Every crossing has a blue plate with an emergency phone number and a unique crossing ID.
So that's good for all of us to know, I suppose.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And run
towards the train. Not into the splash.
So we get extra points for being a public service broadcast now?
Yes.
We do. Yes.
Bing.
Yeah, I'm sure. They're racking up as I have a little counter over here. It's just like PSA points.
And Tim Van Ram.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. I think Nick froze.
Oh, Nick.
I will continue with what he was saying. He was talking about Tim Van Ram commented that the documentary 16 Right describes the positive impact small airports have in communities. So if you have any, I feel like we're probably preaching to the choir there a bit, but if your friends, family, coworkers, folks don't understand it, point them that direction.
Or if you love great aviation video, because that's
That
a
too.
really well shot documentary with lots of awesome air-to-air video.
Cool.
Thanks, Armando. That may be the most useful thing I've learned on APG.
Now you know about railroad crossing safety.
Yeah, he's out of the chat room. Okay, you're booting him out. No, don't do that. Armando's a nice guy. In fact, I just met up with him just recently.
I was
which
hoping
I'm
you would
gonna
talk about that. Yeah.
In our next segment, which is right now, and I'm going to hit the sound bumper thing. Here we go. Getting to know us. That's the time of the show where we take a break from the news, and before we attack the feedback, and we kind of get to know what we've all been doing. So where's the camera? I'm looking at a blank screen over here, and the camera's over here. Here we go. Where we talk about what we've been doing between shows, and who'd like to start? I'm looking for people raising their hands.
I was actually
Steph,
looking to see when we recorded last because I couldn't remember.
Last Thursday, I think.
It was last Thursday. So I pulled that up.
A little over a week.
So yeah, so let's I'll pick up from there. Little over a week ago. So actually I got to do some flying the following weekend. A drop zone in Raleigh needed an aircraft. I don't think I've talked about that yet. I don't think I talked about it last week because that would have been too soon. I don't know. My dates and times are all mixed up. So if I'm
too soon,
if I'm saying things that sound familiar, just stop me and tell me to shut up. And I don't know. I can't hear Nick though because he's muted.
Stop.
So they needed an airplane for their jump operations as theirs was in maintenance. So chance to go to Raleigh for just the day. We went on Saturday only, Sunday only. I forget. One day I think had poor weather. Anyway, just for the day, but it was nice to actually see the inside of the airplane and fly a little bit and not go an entire 6 weeks without flying because that always feels not the greatest when we're closed for the winter. We're going to do that again this weekend. However, weather has definitely not cooperated.
What's going on there?
I'll get that. I guess I can launch into that now. We've already kind of alluded to that a bunch on the show, so you're probably sick of me talking about this already. But Winter Storm Izzy, cutesy name, not so cutesy
Is he
weather.
or isn't he?
Is he? Is he?
Izzy Wizzy.
That's like Fuzzy Wuzzy. Yes, Izzy is bringing quite a bit of inclement winter precipitation to my part of the country here. And Charlotte happens to be kind of right. If you look at the maps of what type of precipitation each area is going to expect to get, we're just in the middle of this belt of ice. And that's pretty accurate for what it's doing outside. There's ice falling from the sky in various
I'm impressed
shapes.
you still have power.
Well, oddly enough, the area where I live in...
That's usually the kiss of death when you say something like that, Jeff.
I know, right?
As her screen goes zack.
Don't give in to the commercialization of weather. It's not commercial. I'm just reporting what I'm seeing out my window right now. It's icy and not real pleasant. But fortunately, the area I live in, we're actually very close to a lot of the power plants and substations and things, and all of our power lines run underground here. So it's actually pretty rare that we lose power in some of these nasty winter events. Naming every... Yeah, sorry. Hillel is criticizing me for giving into the commercialization of weather by naming every stupid low-pressure center. I don't know. I didn't do it, Hillel.
No, it's not her fault.
I think you'll have to blame the Weather Center for that.
Yeah, I don't even think it's weather.com. I think it's the National Weather Service names these storms now because they've got nothing better to do. Anyway, NOAA probably. Who knows? But that's not the only exciting thing, flying, weather. I got to see Captain Jeff in person earlier this week. He's already forgotten.
No, I will never forget that. So never.
But yeah, he had a Charlotte layover, and timing worked out that we were able to meet up after I finished with work for the day, and we had a very nice meal at Bouija Gastropub, something like that. A couple of drinks and a lot of good conversation. So that was really nice and lovely. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
What was on the menu?
We had the garlic shrimp and a flatbread, and it's tapas, so it's kind of shared plates. But
sounds nice.
Yeah,
I like tapas.
Yeah.
Good job. Well done.
Yeah, I thought she said she would be taking me to a topless bar. But it was
in such a ritzy part of town. Who would have known?
Yeah, everybody was wearing
in her
tops.
topless Jeep.
Yeah, in the snow and ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great time, and later that evening was the college football championship game.
That's right.
That I really didn't get to watch much of because I had to get up really, really early the next day.
Yeah, it was not a late night.
No.
Did someone win?
Presumably.
Yes, somebody did. The University of Georgia Bulldogs, the first time they won a national championship since like 1982 or something, or 81. It was like 40 or 80, I think. 41 years, I think they said. Anywho, continue, Steph. Anything else?
No, that's about it. I actually am kind of anticipating that maybe I won't be working tomorrow, and I'm almost hoping that our office will be closed because I'm not sure I can get my car out of my driveway at the moment. It's quite slick.
Yeah, it was steep.
And my driveway is very steep. So my new Jeep actually has roll and pitch indicators. If you go to just like the off-road page, so I was like, oh, let's see if my driveway is as steep as I think it actually is, and it's at the steepest point, it's 17 degrees.
Wow, that's quite a lot.
That is steep.
Yeah. And when it's covered in ice, the
You'd
four-wheel
almost
drive doesn't help
rotating
much.
a mad dog at that angle.
Almost. I think it's 18 degrees.
Yeah.
1 degree
20.
off. 20. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
There you go. You'd certainly be over-rotating an A340.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair enough.
Very good. Well, Nick A., Captain Nick, what have you been up to, sir?
Well, I had a lovely photo shoot with our friend and fine air traffic controller, Adam, and his super Fox Red lab, and finished those images, which was great because I was a bit pushed to get a plane tail done and do all that extra work, but managed to get all that knocked on the head. So thanks very much for delaying this show for me, Jeff. Appreciate that.
Oh,
and Adam's going to come back for some more pictures with lovely Louise later in the week because we want to get some more action shots. I've been doing some umpiring, so that's kind of my Winter Bowls commitment, is to umpire the odd match. Since I'm a National Bowls umpire. But the important thing was that our main delight of most retired people are big telly. And I'm going to point the finger at Samsung here, because I had a lovely Samsung LCD that suddenly started turning into a spotted monster. So apparently, looking at the internet, purple patches on your Samsung LCD television are a common fault, and it costs more than the TV's worth to have it repaired. So it was a good excuse for me to go out and buy an even more enormous OLED. Nice LG
How many
screen.
inches, Nick?
16? No, that's something else I'm thinking of.
It's kind of tight.
65. I wanted the 72.
16 inches high.
Yeah. You see, I go up in increments. That
That's a
way I can
lot.
get it past MEMSAB. Yeah.
So
Because-
you're in good company. My father also purchased a TV this week. He got I think a Vizio from Amazon.com. He plugged it in. We went through this whole trying to figure out how to mount a wall mount for it, but the house that he lives in does not have standard studs in the wall. They're more than 16 inches apart.
Yeah.
16 inches comes up a lot.
Oh,
on the
right.
show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wait a minute,
So
wait a
you
minute.
can't
Hang on.
mount the.
I'm never ready for this. Okay.
You just had it up.
16 inches high.
That's what she said. Sorry.
I guess it's not loud enough because here, everybody stop.
16 inches high.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we ditched the idea
Is that
of the
because
wall
it's
mount.
a circular house?
Well, it's because the wall that we wanted to mount it on is not load bearing in any way, shape, or form.
okay.
So it didn't have to have studs every 16 inches.
Right.
So we were like go through this whole thing of mounting a board across with the studs that are, and they're like, screw it, let's just get a nice cabinet to put the TV on.
Yeah.
So went through that whole rigmarole with trip to IKEA and whatnot, and putting together IKEA furniture, and then he finally gets the TV set up, and it worked for I think less than 24 hours, and then just quit altogether. Just nothing. So apparently the fine folks either at Amazon or Vizio were like, well, we can send a technician out to take a look at it in another week, and then it'll be. And he was like, no, I just got it. You're getting this back. So we boxed it back up. He sent it back, and I got a picture last night of the new TV that he just went to Best Buy or Target or somewhere and purchased and brought home. So it's also
Good man.
65 inches. I think his was a forgot what brand. Sony maybe.
Well, anyway, I can
Sony.
recommend the OLED screen. I was very taken aback by the quality. It was
He got the
really
can't
quite
tell.
remarkable.
4K
Yeah, OLED is the way to go.
HDR Ultra HD. I don't know, whatever. It's not
So-
OLED, I don't think, but no.
I have one big
okay.
takeaway from this conversation.
What's that?
Nick, do you guys measure TVs in inches over there?
Yeah.
They also have their
Don't
speed
ask
limits
me
are in
why.
miles per hour. Also,
Yeah, they do miles
They're
per
just
hour,
very
too.
confused
Yeah,
on
we do.
measurements.
They do a little bit
Even
of
more so
everything.
than
You
us. At least we're pretty consistently imperial. They're like, just pick and
We're
choose.
always
imperial.
wrong versus them just sometimes choosing the wrong
Yeah,
one.
but
Exactly.
let's do weight in stone.
And now we're not in the European Union anymore.
Oh, yeah.
We can go back
can do
to
whatever you
stones, pounds, ounces, if you want to. So that's cool. And our passports are going to be blue again. Hey.
Hey, blue's the way to go on the passports. Definitely.
Yeah, that's ours. Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Sorry.
so
I don't
that's
know.
me. It's been an exciting week, but I'm sure we'll have another show before long. So I must crack on with the next Plain Tales. So
Yes, you shall. But why don't you
good.
wait until we're finished with this one before you start working on it?
oh, okay.
Fahrenheit. Yeah, let's mention it, Gubby. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, carry on.
Nick
That's
Camacho,
not
last time,
Fahrenheit,
I can actually say now, what have you been doing since the last show? Because you were with us on the last show when I was in Wichita. We recorded 504.
Yep.
And now it's a little over a week later. And what have you been up to, sir?
So, in addition to my day job, I've still been working on my airplane. Like we mentioned last time, I have a Beach Debonair, which is like a straight tail Bonanza, an early straight tail Bonanza. And I've been doing a fairly significant overhaul or retrofit. I took the panel out and I made a new panel and I put in a bunch of new avionics in it. And while I had it all apart for that, I was like, oh, I'm going to touch a few other things. And that turned into kind of a long-term project. So it's been down for over a year now, getting closer to 2 years, unfortunately. But I had everything all ready to go at the beginning of December. I got it all put back together and went to run the engine, and the fuel pump didn't work, or the engine wouldn't run on the engine-driven fuel pump, I guess. So we troubleshot that, and it turned out that a diaphragm in one of the fuel system components had actually dried out and gotten hard because I hadn't run the engine for so long, which is a sad state. But sent all that stuff out, got it all back, and ran the airplane again on Thursday afternoon, and it all ran fine. So I'm hoping maybe in the next week or two I'll be flying the airplane for the first time in a while. So that'll be exciting.
A debonair pilot
Nice.
in a debonair.
Yep. So that's my main thing. And then me and my dad have a little fabrication business on the side. And just before Christmas, we got a new machine, a little CNC laser. So I've been playing around with that, getting it all set up to use for some of the stuff that we make. So aside from the family, that's kind of been taking all the time.
Okay. Can you do like engraving on metal and that kind of thing with that CNC laser?
So it can't do metal.
Okay.
It does. I can engrave coated metals, so like anodized aluminum and stuff like that. I can basically burn the anodize off, but can't etch into metal. But it'll basically do everything else. So we're going to use it for wood. It'll etch and cut wood and acrylic and make placards and do that sort of thing.
Well, be careful where you point that thing. Take your eye out.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. And then as anything else, Nick?
Nope.
Okay. I didn't want to cut you off. So as Steph had mentioned, got a chance to meet with her on a trip that I had picked up. And the reason why it took, I do apologize for all of you listening to the podcast. It seems like it took forever for me to get the thing edited and published. And that's because I thought that by picking up this, I had like a 4-day break between trips on my original schedule. And so the trip that I was on when we did the last show, I got home on a Friday, and then I had Saturday off and did my normal singing on Saturday afternoon. And then I thought I was going to have the next 3 days off before I was to report for my next trip. But the airline, Acme, is really hurting for pilots to go out there and fly trips. As you know, we're having a kind of a mess of delays and cancellations, all the airlines here in the U.S. And I thought, well, I'll go in and help them out, especially because they're going to be paying me double overtime rates for flying the trip. And it was a 3-day trip that I went out on, and I thought, well, I could just, sure, I have this editing to do, but I can probably squeeze that in amongst all these days of flying. And I was wrong. It just took me forever to get it finished. So I do apologize for that. But anyway, so on that trip that I picked up, the overtime trip, I was able to see Steph. And then what else? Flew another trip, my regularly scheduled trip, Wednesday through Friday. And then on Friday, I got a chance to see some of our fine community members, one of whom is in the, well, I think both are in the live audience, or at least were. Armando happened to be in Atlanta doing some a training program at we'll just say Acme Airlines. And so I rung him up and said, hey, I'm going to meet up with a gentleman named James Graves Brown and his lovely wife, Sarah, who happened to be here from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and James had a birthday in December, and his big birthday gift was to fly out to Atlanta International Airport, stay at the Renaissance Concourse Hotel. That might sound familiar because that's where we did the 500th celebration, 500th episode celebration, and they came here to do plane spotting, and they flew out on Thursday, I think it was when they arrived. So Friday, I swung by the Renaissance Concourse, picked them up, and we went to the Corner Tavern in Hapeville and had a lovely meal. And Armando joined us as well. So we had Armando and James and Sarah and myself, and we had a great time. And Liz, before you ask, no, I did not take any pictures, and no, I did not do a recording. Sorry. I don't even think of it anymore. I don't know why. Hey, if I ever meet up with you somewhere out there, don't be shy. Say, hey, Jeff, can we do a recording so you can play it on the Getting to Know Us segment in the show? And then I'll go, hey, that's a great idea. We'll do that. But anyway, Armando's still here with us. Sarah is a keeper. James, what a great birthday gift. Yeah. Lovely, long-suffering wife of an aviation geek, Sarah is. But I can tell that they love each other very much, and so I really had a lot of fun with them and Armando, I guess. Just kidding, Armando. Armando's a great guy.
Armando's gonna be like, all right, I'm out of here. Bye.
Yeah,
he's
he knows.
Some stick.
He knows I love him very much. I do. I love you.
We all love Armando.
Private
Say
joke.
that again louder, Jeff.
I am. By the way, I should mention, I am not in, even though Radio Roger thought I would be, and I thought I might be as well, up at the cabin in the mountains on Lake Burton. But no, I am here in the not yet sold residence, the original, the OG headquarters, APG headquarters, Studio 1A. And that is because of the aforementioned or previously mentioned winter storm that is going on. And up at the cabin, I thought, we're kind of in the, I think they call that the Blue Ridge Escarpment or something like that. It's something to do with the geography and the Blue Ridge Mountains, part of the Appalachians. And the wedge weather system that's going
damming,
through, and the cold air,
yeah,
all kinds of weird stuff going on.
Just throw out those terms. They mention them a lot on the Weather Channel as well. It's great. Makes a lot of sense.
What was it again? Cold air damming?
Cold air damming.
Wedge.
Wedging. Isn't that what bullies do to you at school?
Hang on.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought
anyway, so I'm thinking it's going to be beautiful up here at the cabin, but because they're mentioning the possibility of icing as well at the cabin, I'm thinking, the power is probably going to.
Your cabin
fail.
doesn't have anti-icing?
No, it does not. And so I have a camera on the front porch. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh yeah, got that.
It's nice and snowy.
So you can see, and this is earlier this morning after the sun had come up, and there's.
We can't read. It won't focus on the writing, though. So you have to tell us what it says.
Well, what the message from my camera says: device is offline. Please check your internet connection or power cycle the camera. So in other words, power is off and the internet is not there. And so I'm so glad that I made the decision yesterday afternoon to drive down here to avoid that from happening. So I'll probably stay here another night and let things settle down up there, and hopefully the roads to dry out and ice melt and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're experiencing here in the entire this storm I think is pretty much covered
it's covered all of like the Midwest. Like it started in kind of like the Midwest.
It started in the Pacific Northwest.
So if I want to know where the Midwest is, I just have to find Izzy. Is that right? Then I'll know where the
Well, it's already
Midwest
moved
is.
on from the
It's
Midwest.
past it.
But like there was a lot of snow in which town in Iowa? I forget. Some place got like 14 inches.
Cedar
of snow.
Rapids. Well, Des Moines for
Des
sure.
Moines,
Had a lot
Des Moines got like 14 inches of snow, and then it moved down into like Missouri, Arkansas.
Kansas.
Tennessee,
Did anyone get
Mississippi,
16 inches?
The mountains of North Carolina are going to see more than that, actually.
Oh, right. Okay.
16 inches high.
You got to give me a couple of seconds notice that you're going to say something like that, so I can be ready for it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You should script this show better, is all I can say.
I know. It's completely unscripted, by the way. Well, not completely, but mostly.
Liz tries
Okay.
to steer us in the right direction, and then
Yeah, she is.
yes,
In fact, she's steering
it's like
me
herding,
right now.
It's like herding squirrels.
Herding
Get
cattle.
on with the show, Jeff.
Okay. So, Liz, throw it up there. There we go. The cover art from the last episode 504, entitled Floating Heads. So, of course, we have some lovely floating heads with all kinds of little, captions, I guess, on our foreheads.
Poor Nick Camacho is being ironed.
Yeah.
That's a selfie, that is. I thought it was so novel, I just had to include it.
And Rick, is going crazy with his iron, apparently, ironing the side of Nick C's.
Well, you know what he's like. He's a terrorist ironer. I don't know what you quite describe in the...
A rogue ironer, yeah.
Yeah.
And Nick, that's an interesting photo of you there. You look a little confused, and you almost look like you should be like in an underpass somewhere.
Like unshaven and ungroomed.
That's what I normally wake up like.
Oh. Ooh.
Glad we don't have to see that every day.
Yeah,
It's
I'm just
chilly.
very confused as to what's going on with this crew.
Okay.
Don't blame you. Of course, Steph is over there in the other corner going, wee!
Well, that's Steph.
Yeah.
Yes.
And apparently I've had a little gas, a little bloating there. Head bloat. Do that all the time. And Liz in the middle of it going, oh no! Anyway, yes. Anyway, great cover art. Thank you, Nick. What now? How did that? Oh, that's right. Because I was wearing a dark shirt and it was a black background, and I just had my head.
The very same
around.
shirt, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, this is a very similar, a little bit different color. This is a navy blue version.
He's got
the black.
the same shirts in multiple varieties of black.
So I am trying to. I'm
turning
trying
into
to
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Just the uniform.
Hey, it worked for him.
That's true.
So I am actually trying to come up with some kind of a scheme to reduce the number of clothing items that I own, because if I'm going to do my full-time RV living, I'm not going to have a lot of room for a lot of clothing. So I'm just going to have my uniform. I'm just
You need to watch
wear
like The
black
Minimalists, that documentary on Netflix or
Okay.
something. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Steph seems to be able to pack an entire wardrobe, into a tiny backpack, so and then fly
I need to
around the
talk to
world
Steph.
with it. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, all right, Liz.
Lots of mankini.
Lots of mankinis.
All right. Let's move on, shall we, with the coffee fund. And I just have to go like this and hit this. Here we go.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the
Sounds beautiful, Liz. And this time I'm going to include it in the audio only podcast at what I actually hear when we're recording the show, and you'll see why I was having trouble singing. Okay, anyway, the Coffee Fund is your way to support the show financially, and a couple of different ways to do that. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic Method, and since the last episode, hey, Jenny in Rome sent in a recurring contribution, and then Donna Rose and Mazutz Karim sent in donations as well. Very nice donations. Thank you. Mazutz was in the chat room earlier. I don't know if he's still there with us. If you are, raise your hand, please, and say something. Say hello to everybody. Thank you very much for your continued support, Mazutz. Definitely not the first time that he has contributed to the show, and so we thank you very much. And Donna Rose, thank you as well. And then we also have a funding mechanism called Patreon. You can become a patron of the show by signing up with them. And, oh, there he is. Mazouz is waving hi. Thank you, Mazouz. Anyway, so check it out by going over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee and learn all about how you can be part of our Coffee Fund Cadre or Coffee Bar Club. You'll be glad you did, and we will too.
Just send your cash.
Absolutely.
Captain, incoming message.
Although, don't send cash because I don't think that will work with the 2 ways to do the.
You can send me cash. I don't mind.
You can send Nick cash. Actually, next time I see you in person, you can give. No, just kidding. Oh, okay. So we can. We have 10 minutes before where we the point in the show that we usually play the Plain Tale. So let's see if we can knock out a couple of feedbacks here, or at least one. This is one that we were going to do on the last episode, but we just ran out of time. And this is from Gubby, and I think he is still in our chat room. At least I saw him there earlier. Okay, great.
Yeah, I tried to kick him out, but he wouldn't go.
Oh, okay.
It's persistent.
Yes.
Yep.
So he's our Englishman who is flying for the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Yeah, don't ask me how that works.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's like an Englishman flying for the Royal Australian Air Force?
It might be, actually, yes.
Fair enough.
So he says some more snowy ops. Oh, very appropriate for the weather that we're receiving here in the southeast. Attached are a couple of video. Oh, this time from the North Pole, he said. Attached are a couple of videos. One is of me flying to the base, and we're not holding hands on the throttles at the end. Seems like he's being a little bit defensive. The other is of me getting airborne again, taken from an Air National Guard LC-130H model. Temperatures were usually minus 15 C, minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Yikes. Wait a minute. Minus 15 is not minus 60.
That's not right.
He didn't do his math right.
Hold on.
Minus
Oh no!
15.
And he was the one making comments.
He
on
was
the
about
temperature scales.
Fahrenheit. It's 5 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, 5 degrees.
Not
a
minus
little bit different
60.
than minus 60. Oh, anyway, here, shall I play the
Yeah, just play
videos?
the video. We'll talk about his
Okay.
math and temperature skills
Okay.
later.
We'll make fun of him shortly. Blame Google. Okay, yeah, sure, Gubby. Oh, you know what? I didn't have this video set up, so here, let me find it. Gubby 1. Here we go. Open. And here it is. What is a noisy airplane? We're looking through the jump seat area, I guess, of the cockpit, looking forward through the windscreen, and the 2 pilots, the good one sitting on the left, and the
handsome
other one,
pilots, yes.
Yeah, Gubby sitting on the right, I think, and they got some HUDs up, heads-up display, and we're flying into the North Pole, I guess.
Has he got his hand on the other bloke's leg?
I think so,
He
yes.
said they're not holding hands.
Well, wait a minute.
Or
Here at
not
the very
Looks
end,
like
just see-
stroking his leg.
they will be holding hands at the end. Yes, Liz says it's cold up there. You have to keep each other warm. And by the way, I think this is called. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I'll have to. Play
Is
it.
that
It's gonna
is
fade
that
off.
patches of mist and fog as well as snow?
I don't know.
Not very
No,
nice,
I don't.
does it? Okay.
Oh, it just calls out 50, huh?
Just 50.
Oh God.
Okay.
Just they could only afford the.
Look at that. Oh.
Oh yeah.
My
They
airplane
are
only calls
holding
out
hands.
500.
Yeah.
Oh,
Guess it figures after 500 you're on your own.
you're on your own. Good luck. All right, they're coming to.
I love it. That's great.
They just landed, and they're coming to a stop on the runway, and now they're kissing each other. That's sweet. Thank you, guys.
So lovely.
That is really nice.
It's very endearing and heartwarming.
Yes, it is. And we also have another one, this time from the viewpoint. Oh, that's not the right thing, Jim.
Your landing is 50% accurate.
Okay, do the slides. Good idea. Okay, there's the beautiful C-17.
Does look quite snowy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it does. And
Very
another view
picture
of it.
skew.
Yeah, very nice. And that's it? Okay. Let's play the second. Wait a minute. Where did it go? Is it this one? No, I think we just played that one. Hang on. Okay. Well, hang on. This might... Okay.
Oh,
there's Gabby.
there we go.
Giving us a
Yay.
thumbs up. Oh, what happened there?
We didn't get any audio.
Oh, that was the very end. Okay, hang on. Okay, remove from studio, and let me try this one more time. Maybe I picked the wrong movie here. Oh, I know what happened. I selected the wrong movie. That's what I did. Sorry. Okay. And here we go. This is the Air National Guard 130H model. And then look in the background. Look at that C-17 taking off.
Ooh.
Isn't that nice?
Blow them away, Gabby.
And going overhead. Ah, nice.
Oh, very pretty.
Very nice. Okay, so then he tells us a little bit about the place they were doing those operations, and I wasn't sure exactly how to pronounce this word, Qikiqtaluk. So I have a couple of different versions of the way to pronounce this. Oh, not that.
That's a good translation, that one.
That's in dog language.
That's the, yes.
Okay, here we go.
Qikiqtaluk.
Okay, or...
Qikiqtaluk.
Ooh, how about this one?
Qikiqtaluk.
That's my favorite.
Qikiqtaluk.
Qikiqtaluk.
Taluk. Anyway, yeah. Oh, well, I'm not going to find it. He says, I saw 499 in the Airbus A340 landing in the Antarctic. Thought I'd share some video of the Canucks doing something similar, but this time up north in the Arctic. The Canadian Air Forces, the CAF, operate the world's most northerly permanently inhabited place in the world. Canadian Forces Station Alert. It's a signals intelligence intercept facility, once home to over 200 personnel, now nearer 100. It's been a place since the 1950s. In the
Qikiqtaluk
region of Nunavut, Alert is the northernmost continuously inhabited place in the world. It takes its name from HMS Alert, which wintered 10 kilometers east of the present station off what is now Cape Sheridan. Each year, the base is resupplied by air. The operation is called Op Box Top. Fuel, food, equipment, and personnel are flown up to the base, which is Charlie Yankee Lima Tango, onto the gravel, snow, ice runway, which is 5,500 feet long. It's a challenging approach, and landing onto the runway, always done as full of fuel and cargo as possible. Op Box Top is infamous for the crash of Box Top 22, a C-130 that crashed controlled flight into terrain 10 nautical miles southwest of the base on October 30, 1991. 5 died as a result. The film depicting the incident, Ordeal in the Arctic, starring Richard Chamberlain, was released in 1993. The wreckage can still be seen and is the site of a memorial to those who perished. In 2020, I completed my second box top operating out of Thule Air Force Base in Greenland. We were joined by the Royal Canadian Air Force C-130Js from CFB Trenton and an LC-130H from the 109th Air National Guard Airlift Wing based in Schenectady, New York. They were using the OP to train for their upcoming Antarctic mission. We We had a fun and sometimes challenging 2 weeks flying hundreds of thousands of pounds of fuel, food, and equipment up north. And he says, I was unable to listen to APG 500 live, but I'm working through it as I type. Great show. Keep it up. That's what she said. Gubby.
Good job, Gubby.
Did you show the map of the... okay. Santa lives up there. I love that little notation on the map. And, of course, we saw the... yeah. And nice picture of Gubby in front of all the signs at Alert. And, yeah, I didn't see that one. Did I not conclude that one? Oh, shoot. I didn't put that one in there. Sorry. Anyway, if you want to check that out, please look in the show notes, and then you'll see all the photos that Gubby included. So thank you a lot, Gubby. Yeah. Let's do this one first, and then we'll hit the plain tail right after this. This is from Justin Beaverhausen. Wait a minute. Hang on. Yeah, exactly.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
I'm a little behind with the episode. Hope you don't mind that, Justin, wherever the camera is. There it is. I'm a little behind with the episodes. I only now watched number 500 and have some feedback/ideas. Only if you don't have any serious feedback to cover. Yeah, we never do. So here we go. First things first. I love the show. It makes one feel connected to the exciting lives of airline pilots. Is he being sarcastic? For the longest time, I wanted to become a cost physician, but decided against it when I was not chosen for the ab initio program of the local airline here. I decided to pursue my second big interest, business. This brings me to the actual reason for my mail. Listening to episode 500, I have some ideas for cost reductions and additional revenue generation. Here's the first one. Start charging for drinks. Dr. Steph, Rick, Nick, 3 people times 2 beers per episode at $5. That's $30 right there. That's a good idea. The 500 episode recap was very popular. Why not do a recap every 10 episodes? By recycling content, you save many production costs. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, all the salary. Yeah, no kidding. You really save a lot of money there. Divide your podcast into 3 parts and release them individually. If Harry Potter or Pirates of the Caribbean has taught us anything, then you can make a lot more money out of your content if you individually release it. Although we don't really charge for the show, so that's not going to work. Save on accommodation. Do away with fancy lakeside studios or exotic international UK hideaways.
There you go. That'll help.
No, don't get rid of my studio.
Well, we'll have to see. 4 pilots to do an episode? Is that necessary? Couldn't you do with 1? And if anything goes wrong, one of the listeners can pitch in. Modern recording equipment is so advanced, literally anyone can operate it.
True.
Well, that's not really true.
He hasn't seen your recording equipment.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go here and make sure that I actually did hit the record button. Yes, I did.
Because Nick and I did not.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, well, that's all right.
Yeah, we talked about it and then failed to actually.
It's important to talk about. Actually, I didn't start the recording until after Radio Roger's intro.
Oops.
Yeah, I looked at it and went, I thought the same thing. Oops. Let's see. Now I got to go back to here. Okay. Oh, wait a minute.
Nope.
Most of your crew has a high seniority, which comes with higher costs, etc. Replacing them with more junior staff will lower your cost base. I'm sure that there are some misdemeanors, but if you look closely, that way you even avoid severance packages.
I see why Nixie is here now.
There are plenty of misdemeanors.
That's it. I can feel my place becoming tenuous.
Yeah. I have the most seniority here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the highest likelihood of the misdemeanors with all that military lifestyle back.
Possibly. You can't pin it on me, though.
Hopping around. They weren't changing his duty station because they needed him to fly an airplane at a different place.
Yeah, all those wives I abandoned.
Oh, boy.
Okay, this is a good one. part of your crew is in the developed world, and health insurance is standard. But for the U.S.-based staff, this is a huge cost position. I think, at least for Dr. Steph, you could cancel it. She's a doctor, so she can take care of herself.
Oh, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Rick is in Miami, which is close to Cuba.
I guess he's just
Good
suggesting you
point.
can go to Cuba for his health insurance.
That's
Yeah,
true.
free healthcare in Cuba.
And think about how healthy he would be swimming the 90 miles each time he had to go see his doctor.
Yeah, you have to be
right.
in shape for that.
Yeah.
Never mind the jellyfish on the way across. It's fine.
He says, never forget, our employees are our greatest asset and even more so our single greatest cost position. If you want, I can send you a PowerPoint showing how Acme could become 600% more profitable and triple its stock price. Have you thought about relocating to the Cayman Islands?
Oh,
No, but that's
sounds
where I
nice.
register my boat. Oh, wait, I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have said that.
Is there an airfield there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's all go to the Cayman Islands, guys.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Sounds nice.
I'm leaving right
Yeah.
now.
Wait till we
Oh,
finish the
no,
show,
they canceled all the flights out of Charlotte today.
Oh, damn.
I'll
Okay.
go tomorrow. Going tomorrow.
Anyway, Justin says, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and keep the belly up. Thank you, Justin. That really made me chuckle when I read
I'm
it.
sure you don't
first.
mean that.
I had a good laugh out of this one.
We don't want to go belly up, do we?
No.
Yeah,
no.
I thought you were in business, Justin.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's the wrong term to use. And no, Liz, he doesn't understand quite our cost structure here. Podcast.
Neither do I.
Nobody does. And
Only
I want
Jeff.
to keep it that
and-
way.
Yeah.
All right. With that, I think it is now time, actually past time, for us to play this week's installment of the Old Pilot's Plain Tales. And this one is entitled Sidewinders and Sparrows. So take it away, Old Pilot.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. Sidewinders and Sparrows. A sidewinder is a nasty reptile which is formally named Crotalus cerastes, but also goes by the more descriptive title the horned or sidewinder rattlesnake. It's generally found in the regions of the southwest United States and northwest Mexico. They're also found in the Mojave Desert, where they're known locally but slightly unimaginatively as the Mojave Desert Sidewinder. I only mention this as the area is also home to the Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake. The vast airspace there, larger than the state of Rhode Island, is jointly controlled by Edwards Air Force Base and Fort Irwin. The link will become apparent shortly. Crotalus cerastes is a pit viper, renowned for its speed of travel. At 18 miles an hour, which is nearly 30 kilometers an hour, it is by a considerable margin the fastest snake in the world. It achieves this record by an unusual form of motion known as lateral undulation. Simply put, it anchors the rear of its body in the desert sand and then thrusts forward the front portion through the air. Once in contact with the sand again, the rear part catches up. This action minimizes contact with the hot sand, and it is practiced by several species of snake, but none as speedily as the sidewinder. The common sparrow isn't nearly as dramatic as a desert-living pit viper, but it has certainly become more successful as a species. It's a small part of the Passeridae genus Passer, and being a small plump brown or greyish bird, they're quite unremarkable. A seed eater, they've been around since the early Miocene period, about 23 million years ago, and have colonized every continent except Antarctica. They can be found from Buenos Aires to Alaska, New Zealand to Cape Town, and are the most widespread birds in the world. Despite their obvious differences, sidewinders and sparrows often went together, because they aren't just the names of flying creatures and slithering serpents. They are weapons of war known as missiles. For years I thought a missile was named because it missed its target, as opposed to a hitile. I got this from the joke put about by the Rapier missile operators, as because of the Rapier's accuracy, it only had a contact fuse, so needed to hit the target to detonate. Historically, the word comes from the Latin missilis, meaning that may be thrown, such as a stone, arrow, javelin, or bullet. From the Latin, the French altered it into the common missile, which dates back to its use in 1636, referring to a projectile. In more recent times, in military parlance, a missile is described as a self-propelled weapon, the trajectory of which can be adjusted after launch. This separates it from dumb weapons, such as artillery rockets, that are purely ballistic in nature. Of course, those unguided rockets are the father, indeed the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of modern missiles. Their origin is recorded in the 10th century Song dynasty of China, when gunpowder-powered arrows were fired in the hundreds from launchers. As early as 1232, rockets with warheads made of iron pots filled with gunpowder could devastate an area of 2,000 feet, around 600 meters, with shrapnel. The Fire Drake Manual, written by a Chinese artillery officer, even describes multi-stage rockets. The Mongols adopted the technology, and their use has been recorded in the Middle East, India, Korea, and Europe from the 1300s onwards. In 1792, the first iron-cased rockets were used by Tipu Sultan, the ruler of Mysore in India, against the British East India Company. They had a range of over a mile, and after the Sultan's eventual defeat, 600 launchers, 700 serviceable rockets, and 9,000 empty rockets were found. Some of the rockets had pierced cylinders to allow them to act like incendiaries, while some had iron points or steel blades bound to the bamboo. These blades caused the rockets to become very unstable towards the end of their flight, resulting in the blades spinning around like flying scythes and cutting down all in their path. The British went on to use the technology to develop the Congreve rocket, employed by the Royal Navy in the Napoleonic Wars. Our interest is in a more sophisticated theatre of war, when fighters used rockets to engage other aircraft, and it wasn't until the Battle of Khalkhin Gol when a Japanese Nakajima Ki-27 fighter was hit by a salvo of rockets fired by a Polikarpov I-16 that the first kill was recorded. Although a total of 16 fighters and 3 bombers were apparently brought down during the conflict by this weapon, the RS-28 rockets used were unguided. The usefulness of such weapons was very limited, as they could be easily dodged by an agile aircraft. That didn't stop their development during the Second World War to counter the massed Allied formations of bombers, and the German R4M was highly successful, albeit too late to affect the outcome of the war. Their name was an abbreviation of Rocket 4 Kilogramm Minkopf, or Rocket 4 Kilogramm Minehead. The rocket's disadvantage included the drag of carrying them in an underwing pod. The advantages meant that overall they were lighter than an equivalent heavy cannon with all its ammunition. The R4Ms were supersonic and carried a powerful explosive warhead that would guarantee to bring down a fighter with only one hit. If a fighter launched all 24 at about half a mile, they would hurtle towards a bomber formation at over 1,100 miles an hour and saturate an area 50 by 100 feet, almost guaranteeing a hit. Advances in electronics would spell the end of unguided rockets in air-to-air combat, but they had a last hurrah with the Air-2 Genie. The Soviet Air Force tactics during the Cold War were believed to consist of large regiment-sized formations of bombers that would sweep across NATO borders to devastate North America and European countries. One of the defences devised to counter these mass attacks was an unguided air-launched missile that carried a 1.5 kiloton nuclear warhead. Carried by fighters such as the F-89 Scorpion and the F-101 Voodoo, with future conversions of the F-104 Starfighter, the F-102 Delta Dagger, and even the English Electric Lightning were considered. 3,000 Genie rockets were constructed. Fired from about 6 miles from an enemy formation, the Genie would accelerate to Mach 3.3 for a 12-second flight time, followed by a timed detonation of the warhead that was expected to devastate everything within 1,000 feet, about 300 meters from it. There was only ever one live trial of this weapon, Operation Plum Bob, which was held over the Yucca Flats within the Nevada test site. A group of 5 United States Air Force officers volunteered to stand in their light summer uniforms beneath the explosion. To prove that the weapon was safe for use over populated areas, and chase aircraft flew through the airburst 10 minutes after detonation. Those in the air received the highest doses of gamma and neutron radiation. These weapons remained an option for the United States and Canadian Air Forces until as late as 1985. The era of guided air-to-air missiles started shortly after World War II, when the Firebird subsonic radar-guided missile was developed in 1947. This was pretty quickly rendered obsolete by the Hughes AIM-4 Falcon, which entered service with the USAF in 1956. Designed to engage slow-maneuvering bombers, when it was used during the Vietnam War, it proved pretty ineffective against agile fighters, and lacking a proximity fuse, it needed to strike its target to detonate. Only 5 kills were recorded. It was soon superseded by the AIM-9 Sidewinder, called after its grounded namesake from the deserts below the test ranges, because both were capable of detecting the heat of their prey. The United States Navy were responsible for the project, and they'd subcontracted production to companies such as Raytheon and General Electric. The Sidewinder missile used many advanced techniques to solve the problem of getting from fighter to target. Early versions used materials such as lead sulfide and indium antimonide, which detect the infrared heat sources at different wavelengths, covering both the exhaust plume and the hot jet pipe, and they were cooled to increase sensitivity. The IR radiation entered the seeker head through a series of mirrors, which focused them onto a small rotating disc called a chopper, or more correctly, the reticule. It was then refocused by a lens before reaching the IR-sensitive detector. All the detector did was register the heat source, or not. It was the chopper that did all the guidance. It looked like a pizza, with a few alternate slices removed from one side. These gaps would allow the IR to pass through. As the chopper rotated at around 100 times a second, the source might first appear at the top, the 12 o'clock. As the disk span, the presence of the target heat source would be chopped a few times before disappearing as the large opaque segment obscured it. The signal would then appear as flash, 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 followed by a blank period. If the target was at the bottom, or 6 o'clock of the disk, the signal would be reversed, a blank period followed by 4 flashes. In this way, the target orientation could be determined. The frequency modulation of the target would be found by the length of the pulses. At the edge of the pizza where the crust is, the pulses would be long, a low frequency, but as the target approached the juicy center, they would get shorter and become higher in frequency. The mirrors could deflect to see the target off bore sight, and the guidance system would pass instructions to the wings to move and steer the missile. The front end was where all the electronics and power for the wings was packed, so the rear wings didn't move. They just provided stability through an ingenious but very simple system. On the rear wing tips there were rotating discs with little notches on them to catch the wind. They were housed in a little hinged control vane that could freely deflect left or right. Like a water wheel in a river, when the missile moved through the air, the stabilizers would spin up, and if the missile began turning, the gyroscopic force on the discs, precessed through 90 degrees, would force the vanes to move, countering the spin by creating an opposing aerodynamic force. Behind the seeker head was the guidance system, the brains of the device. It would have been very simple for the missile to just fly straight at the heat source, called a pure pursuit line, but this has disadvantages. Unless a shot is from directly behind, flying pure pursuit means the missile flies a curved path, particularly if the target is trying to evade. It also requires a lot of turn at the end of flight to make the final corner when the missile will be at low energy. Instead, the guidance logic used sightline spin, the rate of angular movement of the target, to predict where it would be in a few seconds and head off in that direction. This was called full lead prediction. It was a shorter path than pure pursuit, but had problems as that imaginary point in space where the intercept would occur could be moved very rapidly by target evasion, which would deplete the missile's energy. The compromise was a combination of the two, called proportional navigation. Having got to our unlucky target, the missile now had to know when to go bang. This was achieved by using one of the triggers. The ideal result would be if the missile actually struck the target. The impact would send a firing pulse to the warhead, and so in addition to the kinetic force of impact, there would be an explosive one as well. If the missile missed, it only needed to be close enough to trigger the passive infrared or active radar fuse, which would detonate the warhead, as its beam was cut by the target. It was designed to occur just before the missile passed the enemy aircraft to give the warhead time to get to maximum effectiveness. Warheads varied from an expanding rod type to blast fragmentation. The expanding rod system was made up of a circular tube of steel rods that were alternately joined at the front and then the back. When the warhead, usually around 10 pounds, 4.5 kilos of high explosive, went off, the rods would expand out into a big circular buzzsaw that would cut through the target. The blast fragmentation type would act just like a big hand grenade. Initially only usable when nearly directly behind a target, improvements resulted in an all-aspect capability for the Sidewinder. The Sidewinder was a short-range combat missile, so for longer-range engagements, in conjunction with the Douglas Aircraft Company, the Navy developed a semi-active radar-guided missile, which became known as the Sparrow. The AIM-7 family has developed into a highly effective medium-range missile and is only now being phased out in favor of the AIM-120 AMRAAM. The Sparrow is a big missile. It weighs around 400 pounds, nearly 200 kilograms, and is some 12 feet, about 3.7 meters in length. Not having a radar transmitter itself, for guidance, it relies on the firing aircraft to illuminate the target with a continuous beam of carry-away radiation, which limits the firer's situational awareness. Once locked on in order to put a missile in the air, they lose sight of any other radar targets they might have previously detected. However, unlike infrared, which can be dispersed by atmospheric effects, rain and cloud, etc., radar is all-weather. On the other hand, an IR source is small, whilst a radar return is large, which results in a much bigger miss distance and therefore requires a good radar proximity fuse and a large warhead. The all-aspect capability of the Sparrow also needs much greater complexity in guidance laws, homing capability, and fusing systems, and the relatively long range of the missile gives other tactical problems. Being able to launch BVR, beyond visual range, raises many tactical problems, which I'll chat about in the next tale.
So I'm confused. What does sparrows and sidewinders have to do with missiles? Just kidding.
You need to go back and re-listen to the
Yeah,
entire
I
thing
think you
as
need
your
to
homework.
start that over again and pay attention next time.
Well, you know what? You lost me at the horizontally undulating something or other. I don't know. I just kind of started just...
Well, that's just snake talk, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are we now qualified weapons instructors?
No,
That's
but
what
you
I
can,
gathered.
you can talk about snakes, but you need to have a few of those drinks. You know, the snake bite? You need to have a few of those, and then you'll become fluent in the subject of missiles, actually.
Fluid, yeah. Not fluent. No, that's an interesting stuff. Wow. I mean, that's just probably just touching just the tip of an iceberg.
Scratching the
Yeah, that's kind of approaching the subject from behind, which is what most fighter pilots try to do. And we'll kind of reach towards the more modern stuff next week. But, of course, a lot of this is very classified. So that's why I kind of will steer away from the technical aspects, apart from the fact that I can't remember it all.
Well, it's a good thing that we don't really have that many people that listen to the show or watch it.
Yeah,
so I
that's
think we're gonna be
exactly
okay.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
The secret's safe.
36 minutes, that's all? Oh, okay. We have 36 minutes left. I know. Well, anyway, another. You said this is going to be that was part one. We're going to do part two.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We'll carry on into a bit more missile tactics and cover some of the more wacky stuff. Someone's, I think it was I Hold Boxes, asked me to talk about the AIM-54, which is the Phoenix, and just a monster of a missile. So yeah, we can touch on a few wacky ones, but mainly talking about the tactics of employing long-range missiles against other fighters, which is quite a fascinating subject all on its own.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Captain Nick, for that. And we're going to move on with this feedback from Mike. I sent some feedback in on episode 496, and I think Liz picked it for the show because my last name looks pretty ridiculous. As much fun as it is, as it usually is, to hear Captain Jeff pronounce things, I have to say both Captains Jeff and Steph pretty much nailed it. Well done. Insert the... Oh, shoot, I didn't have that all ready to go here, so I have to go like this and hit... Nailed it. All right. Going back to the feedback, I'm a flight test engineer, and at times we have a pretty similar work schedule to pilots. Lots of travel across many time zones, working nights, weekends, different show times every day, etc. I recall one series of tests I was supporting in Victorville, California, a few years ago. We had to be on board the aircraft at 4:45 for several days in a row, and after a while this started to take its toll. Inevitably, one crew member eventually slept through his alarm. After repeated phone calls, someone eventually managed to wake him up. The hotel we were using was quite a distance from the airport, so he didn't arrive until almost an hour later. As I watched the looks of hate, disgust, and annoyance he was showered with as he walked to the aircraft, I vowed to never be that guy. I now set 4 or 5 alarms on 2 separate phones on every flight day to be sure I don't ever miss a flight. That's a long-winded way of saying or getting to my question. Have any of you ever had a crew member snooze through an alarm or forget what time to be at the aircraft? Nah, it never happens. I imagine the implications are a little different in a hub city where you might have someone on reserve to step in versus the first flight of the morning out of a small Midwestern town. In the small town, though, maybe you'd catch it earlier if they don't show up for the crew van. Yeah, all the best, and congrats on reaching 500 shows. I look forward to listening to 500 more. Thanks, Mike Grislecki. And nailed it. Yeah, he gave us a pronunciation guide, just in case we've forgotten how we had properly pronounced his name.
That's a likely possibility.
What, like Grislecki?
No, Grislecki.
What?
And,
he didn't tell
are you
us
sure
where
about
the emphasis was to be
Yeah,
placed.
it could be
Grislecki. Or
or
Grislecki. No.
Grislecki.
Grislecki.
Yeah. Okay.
We know, Mike. We know what you meant.
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
Mike's easier, I must admit.
Yeah, let's just call you Mike. So regarding the, I've been very fortunate in my career. I've only missed a sign-in, like being late for a sign-in or just sleeping through my alarm or maybe not setting an alarm one time, and that was at Dayton many years ago, and I've talked about it several times on the show, but I very quickly did a dry shave and water in my hair and uniform on, and I was down in the lobby in like 5 to 10 minutes. It was pretty darn quick. But I usually do the opposite. I usually show up before I'm supposed to be there, sometimes even the day before I'm supposed to be there. I've done that twice already.
Have you ever shown up a week early for a dentist appointment?
No. I guess you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They actually felt bad. They were like, "Oh, we would totally see you today, except we have no appointments available whatsoever, and we're so sorry." I'm like, "You're sorry. I'm the idiot who showed up a week early for my dentist."
Right. How nice those health professionals are.
I did make the mistake early on. I think I may have been a flight engineer at the time, so like within my first year and a half. And I think it was Salt Lake City at a Red Lion. And I guess I didn't check to see if the clocks in the room were actually set on the local time zone. They weren't.
That old trick.
Yeah, and this is before cell phones and stuff to set your
Automatically
alarm. So
updating times and things.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just set my alarm and got up and showered and got dressed, went down, and it was very, very quiet down there. It was one of those early morning sign-ins, but it was even earlier morning because I was an hour ahead of when I was supposed to be down there. Shoot. So I went back up I didn't go back to sleep because I figured I don't have enough time to lie down and
make sure you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had some coffee and did some reading and it was, as I said, before the cell phone. I couldn't sit there and just read and catch up on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah,
and
like an actual book to read.
Yeah, like books.
What?
Like with words on them, pages.
What?
Like ink. Yeah, it's crazy. By the way, if you're interested in that sort of thing, reading books, we do have a library, APG library. Tiffany is our APG librarian, so you might want to check that out on the website. Anyway, now I have to admit I'm kind of getting a pretty kind of lax when it comes to having like backup alarms and having wake-up calls and that kind of thing, because usually the wake-up calls when I set them up are when I'm in the shower, and then it like keeps ringing forever and waking everybody up that has a room next to me, so I don't like to do that. I don't want to wake up people, and now I just wake up people by snoring, and then they just bang on the wall. But now I just kind of normally just use my iPhone and set 2 alarms, so that's sort of a backup. But if you forget to set one or both, you're going to sleep right through it. So I've been, I guess, pretty lucky that I haven't slept through and been late very often in my career. So that's my story. Let's see. Nick, did you do anything complicated or special to avoid, missing?
No. The way I treated it was that my rest before flight was very important. It's the company's job to wake me up. So the company told the hotel set the wake-up calls, and if I didn't get it, then that's the company's fault or the hotel's fault, not mine. So, I thought if I set an alarm and the flight's been delayed by 5 hours and I wake up, then I'll go, I can't get back to sleep now. How am I going to do the flight? So that was my logic. You needed to sleep until the call time in case the flight had been delayed, and so you didn't ruin your pre-flight sleep. So that's what I did. And it never actually failed. I never was late for a check-in down route. Sometimes a bit tough if the company called you out, particularly if you're on a 2-hour call out and they said, "Oh, someone hasn't pitched up. Can you get to the airport in an hour?" Well, I could try, but I'm probably not going to make it. And occasionally, you make your best effort because you don't want to hold 350 people up who want to go from A to B. It's not good. So I'd hammer down the road, get to the airport, slam it in the car park, jump on the next bus, come storming through with my bags, try and fight your way through security, everyone giving you daggers because you're trying to push ahead. And then quick head into the check-in area and they're on the aircraft waiting for you. It's on gate 19. Run all the way down to gate 19, come on all red-faced with the passengers glaring at you, up to the front end. The FO's sitting there going, "I've done it all, it's all in the box," so
great, let's go.
Exactly. So
pre-flight checklist.
Yeah, absolutely. Throw my suitcase somewhere and clamber into the seat and hope for the best. Yeah. But most of the time it was fine. There are plenty of times crew members are late. You get to the check-in area. I mean, there's usually 16 or 17 of you there. So, the chances of someone being late once a month are pretty regular. And, the company eventually said everyone is to be in the check-in area a quarter of an hour before you're supposed to be there. Which kind of
so instead of just having a supposed to be there time, just make it a supposed to be there time. But
exactly. So you had a quick head count there, and then you'd start phoning round the rooms to wake girls up or boys who had missed their call or slipped through it, gone back to sleep or whatever.
You kind of reminded me of something that's important for especially those pilot crew members out there that may experience this on occasion when, let's say, for whatever reason, somebody overslept or maybe they forgot that they had the trip on the schedule or more likely, the people that are not yet there and are going to join you shortly are probably not the ones that were originally supposed to be there and they got called in short notice. I think it's very, very important, even though that everything is already done, like you just mentioned, Nick, that you walk in, everything's done, let's go. It's very important to slow it down and say, look, sit down. I know, you're ready to go and all that kind of stuff, but you just take your time, get acclimated, get your head in the right space before we do something really stupid. Because we're rushing. We're already 20 minutes late or an hour late or 2 hours late or whatever it is. It's not going to hurt for us to take another 5 minutes to let you get settled in and get your head in the game. So I think that's very important.
I quite agree. It was easy when you're a first officer because you would expect the captain to have taken his time prepping the airplane. But when you're the captain in particular and you've got a first officer you may not ever have met him before and you suddenly climb into your seat and he says, "I've done everything." Then you go, "Well, I don't know you from Adam much as I would love to take your word for that." I'm the one that's signing for the airplane, and if it all goes wrong, I'm going to be the one that carries the can. So, yeah, I did exactly right, Jeff. As soon as you got in the seat, that's it. You need to just let your heart settle, give yourself a few minutes to have a look around, make sure you're comfortable with everything. Quick look around the box. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Let's go now.
And that's for everybody's benefit, because if you don't do that, then the chances of you doing something kind of stupid and getting in trouble and having to fill out paperwork or worse, is the chances of that is much, much higher. So
absolutely.
iHaul Boxes is saying, how much time usually goes into pre-flighting your GoPros and parachutes?
Quite a bit, actually.
Quite
You got to make sure those
like-
camera angles are just right. You know, you got to make
Absolutely.
sure that you don't accidentally leave your handheld selfie stick behind. So have it in a place
Yeah,
that's
and I would
easily,
imagine, pre-flighting the fire extinguishers in your pant legs.
well, you don't want to accidentally set those off as you're climbing out either. That would be embarrassing on your video.
Perhaps he just got hot testicles. I don't know.
A premature extinguishing. Oh, how embarrassing.
How embarrassing.
Yeah. Number 6. Thank you, Liz. Here we go. Spencer says, I think we're one step closer to planes flying themselves.
Boo.
Really?
Oh.
No, I don't think so. This is from liveandletsfly.com, which I assume is some kind of a blog. Air Canada. Oh, let's see. Hang on. We have that, and then we have also we have a couple different sources here from the Aviation Herald. Let's go with that one. That's usually a little bit more accurate. Air Canada Boeing, is it what we got here? Boeing 737-8 MAX. I didn't recognize B-38M. What's that? I guess that's the designation that they use.
738, yeah.
737-8 MAX, registration Charlie Golf Echo Kilo X-ray, performing flight 234 from Vancouver, British Columbia to Edmonton, Alberta in Canada, with 160 passengers and 6 crew, was accelerating for takeoff from Vancouver's runway 26 left when the nose of the aircraft rose unexpectedly. Again.
Whee!
How embarrassing. The crew was able to hold the nose down and continued takeoff. The aircraft continued to Edmonton for a safe landing. The Canadian TSB reported the load sheet showed 89 bags in the forward cargo hold. However, were loaded into the aft cargo hold.
Oops. So those were, someone doesn't know their forward from their aft.
Yeah. Or is it? There's probably other ways to say that, but thank you for not using it. There you go. That Liz just did it.
Ask from her elbow.
Yeah, or something like that. So the thing that is not clear to me on this is, and maybe they have the information in that flightaware.com link, but I don't think so, because I don't think ADSB starts really reporting until or at least in this case, I think I did look it up to see how fast they were going when this may have happened, and I think it didn't start recording until they were airborne, like above 100 feet or something. That's what I'd really like to know here, because to me, the nose rotating prematurely, that's significant. That means something's wrong with the trim or the loading or whatever. And I'm not sure I want to I see if the airplane's going to do okay in the air with that situation. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree 100%, because in balanced field, V1 and rotate are about the same time. So if the aircraft's trying to rotate well early, it might well be below V1, which is an easy abort decision if it's occurring below V1. And if you're having to hold the nose down to wait for the rotate and you then get airborne, there's no guarantee that you'll be in a controllable limit. The aircraft might pitch up, and because it's so RCG, it might continue to pitch up. You might not have control authority to level the aircraft off, which would be my major concern. So I think you'd be entirely justified in aborting the takeoff in this case.
That's one of those situations that I talk about in my briefing for abnormals and abort rejected takeoff situations. If you don't think the airplane is safe to fly or will not fly, or unable to fly, then that regardless of where you are in that takeoff roll, that's an abort situation. So, and to me, the nose coming up like that could be unsafe to fly at that point. But as Liz says, there are a bunch of cowboys out there in
in Canada,
and they got some big old mountains, and they're cowboys. So woo, yeehaw, let's do it.
Yeah, because after all you need to do is roll upside down, and you'd level off, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Kinda.
How about once you guys get the airplane leveled off? At that point, are you thinking, the airplane is stable and controllable right now. It won't get any worse because we know that the fuel's gonna burn to a certain direction, either forward or aft, I guess, depending on the airplane. Or are you still thinking something happened that I don't understand? We're gonna go back and land.
Well, I think in this case they did not know that the bags were loaded incorrectly, so they didn't know the nature of the.
Right.
The pilots wouldn't have known the nature of why the aircraft was trying to rotate prematurely.
Right. I guess that's what I'm getting at is you have something happened that you don't understand, but you have the airplane flying controllably. I guess I'm questioning flying onto your destination versus landing at
I think the point here was why'd they take off in the first place. If it's to Nick's point, if they were below
the secondary
V1,
point, the secondary point is a good point as well. So you screwed up and you've gone, and now what do you do? Do you keep going? I don't know what's going to happen when the fuel burns off. It might get worse. It might get better.
Let's look down at the trim wheel and just see how close we are to the trim limits, because that's a very good indication of where your center of gravity is.
Yeah.
On a smart airplane like an Airbus, it'll indicate it for you. It'll recalculate it if it's been wrong, but depending on the balance of the airplane that it detects. So, you look down, and if you're very close to your trim limits, chances are that things might change during the flight. And then you're a sweat wing or a straight wing. Where's the CFG going to move as I burn fuel? And unless you're absolutely certain you're going to be safe, I think the simplest thing is to throw it straight back on the ground, I think, again, before the situation gets any worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I kind of misunderstood your question there, Nixie. But yeah.
Guppy says, so we had a kilograms for pounds mix-up on box top.
Ouch.
We were 26,000 kilograms, not 26,000 pounds. Aircraft flew very nose up. Thanks, logs personnel.
You mean you didn't go out and weigh your own cargo? Dear, oh dear.
We have
how slack of you.
Big notice to jumpers in the back of the caravan, telling them where they should not sit, because there are places that are too far aft. And usually if you notice the airplane trying to pitch up too soon, the remedy is to quickly yell back, get out of that space, move forward, move forward.
Yeah. Good point. Or jump out, one or the other.
Well, when you're on the runway still, that's probably not a great idea.
Yeah, that's one of the problems in the C-47 is the lav is in the back behind the door, and you have no autopilot, right? So when you're trying to fly this airplane in cruise, you get it all trimmed up finally to where
and someone goes in the lav.
Someone goes to the bathroom. You're like, oh man, you retrimmed the airplane to fly while they're in the bathroom, and then they come out of the bathroom. It's constant battle.
I love it.
IHAL Boxes was trying to help me out in the aircraft designation. McDonnell 737 Dog Bus Neo Max.
Yeah, the 38M is definitely the Boeing McDoug bus.
Yes. Yeah. We were ahead of our time, I think.
We've had that airplane, yeah.
Yeah. All right. And so thank you for bringing our attention to this incident, Mr. Spencer. So in this case, I wasn't expecting this kind of article when you said airplanes flying themselves. I thought you were talking about getting rid of pilots, but this airplane wanted to go fly a lot earlier than it should have.
Mm.
All right. Tim sent this in. This is something that we got. He posted on the Facebook page, I believe. Hi, APG team. I was hoping you might like to discuss this incident and give some insight into likely causes. It appears similar to the C-130 fire tanker that clapped its wings and crashed in Canada many years ago. Now, it's not Tim's fault. The person that posted this in Facebook, and he was just, or saw somebody reposting it, said Cessna 210, but this airplane was not a Cessna 210. This was an Embraer 202A Ipanema, I think is the way you would pronounce that.
Isn't that where the girl comes from?
No,
Yep,
I don't.
exactly.
That's Ipanema. That's,
Ipanema?
I actually looked that up and thinking, really? Is that? No, it's something else actually. But we do have some video of this incident, and it's quite interesting. Here we go. Okay, we see the airplane in the distance, dropping something, and then pulling up, and
Oh, wow.
Ow.
Yeah.
Both wings went straight up. And actually, the pilot did not die.
That's amazing.
Kind of a miracle, huh? Anyway, here, I'm going to turn the sound down again, and we can watch it again. Okay, coming in, getting rid of whatever.
So this is a crop sprayer, is it? He's just dumping water?
Yeah, looks like a crop duster.
I think it was water or something in there that he was, and then.
Yep. The article says the application was canceled due to bad weather conditions. The pilot discharged water from the tank on the landing site and began to climb, and both rings broke and hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not good. Not good.
That's
anyway.
odd. I'm curious
You'd think
to
that-
know what you all think
why?
about this, but I don't know why that should happen.
No. I mean, if it over-G'd the aircraft, I would have expected it to have pitched considerably more, because even if you snatch, I don't know what the aircraft G limits in this thing was, 5 or 6 G, the aircraft will start to pitch before the wings fall. This had barely started to move, unless it was something like an overspeed. Unlikely. I think their aerodynamic forces wouldn't be too much. It looks like just the aircraft has fatigued, I would say, perhaps.
Yeah, so I think for people who are listening and are unfamiliar with this EMB 202, it looks like a air tractor. So it's a turbine-powered aerial applicator airplane. And, one of the issues they fight with those airplanes is some of those airplanes, I think, have fatigue lives or service lives, which isn't as common on these smaller airplanes because they fly the airplane in a little different manner than most GA airplanes. But then also, all of the structure is always being subjected to whatever chemical they're spraying. So a lot of times they're fighting corrosion. And I think there's an AD on the air tractor for a wing spar issue due to a similar crash. So I don't know if it's it definitely doesn't look like he overloaded the airplane, but maybe it's a structural issue because of what they've been spraying or something similar to that.
Yeah. I mean, you watch, if you've spent any time in rural areas and you've seen some of these crop dusters in action, air tractors, aerial sprayers, whatnot, their goal is to get down very close to the field, spray, and they're going back and forth across basically a grid that they've plotted out, and then they need to pitch up, make tight turns, come back down. They're trying to be as efficient as possible. So they are subjecting these aircraft to fairly higher than usual for GA aircraft G forces, I would say. And that didn't look anywhere near what I've seen some of those aircraft do, just from the video.
No, and they're probably often operating from pretty rough fields when they're doing their reloading of chemicals or whatever it is they're delivering. So, the wings get a lot of extra pressure from those landings and takeoffs. So, the airframe can get a lot of punishment doing this kind of, very manual sort of job. I'm trying to think of a good adjective for that type of flying, but it is it would put a lot of strain on the airframe. So I think you'd have to keep a very close eye on your aircraft to make sure they're safe.
I was trying to I listened to actually a very interesting podcast episode on a different podcast, 21.5 podcast. I think that's the name of it. They interviewed a guy who basically made a career out of doing crop dusting and aerial application of things. And it was very, very, very interesting to listen to some of the stories and the things that they do and how they really plan out their flying and the safety precautions they take and the things that happen despite all of that. They hit a lot of power lines, basically, was what I took away from it. But definitely interesting to listen to. I'll see if I can find the actual podcast episode number and name if people are interested. But I would highly recommend listening to that. It was definitely an interesting perspective to hear.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been renowned as being one of the most dangerous flying jobs, professional flying jobs in the world, being a crop duster. Because of the terrain, the height you're working from, the obstacles in the area you have to go to, and the fact that when it's your season to deliver chemicals or whatever, you're often working from dawn to dusk because, it's a really long hours. Very, very tough way to build hours or to earn your living, I think.
Yeah. Does look like fun flying, though, but as long as you don't have to do it all day long, every day.
Yeah, it's a bit like being a racing driver, but for doing it for 13 or 14 hours.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fun. All right, moving on. We'll try to knock out as much as we can here, but we have less than 10 minutes remaining in this week's episode. This is Tom from Pittsburgh. First, congrats on the big 500th episode. Thanks.
Right.
I wrote you all a couple of times a few years back while I was grinding my teeth out at a certain friendly 135 operator. My commute was about 3-hour round trip to my base, and I recall all those early mornings waking up at 0200 to drive to work and having you my car's speakers on my treacherous drives up to my base. I can even remember the pure excitement I had when Captain Nick did the most wonderful plane tale I suggested, Taco Flight 110. I was hanging on every word like most every plane tale, but this one was so close to home for me. So, again, Captain Nick, thank you for that and all the others.
Absolutely my pleasure, sir.
As the years passed, I became a negligent APGer. And fell way behind on the show when my commute shrunk from 1.5 hours per way to 10 minutes to my home base in Pittsburgh, flying an Embraer for Acme Brick. Recently, I had about a total of 3,000 miles to drive, so my only choice for long-haul audio is, of course, the APG show. After the bulk of the holidays passed, I decided to write y'all again to thank and congratulate you all for everything you've accomplished. Now, I do have a question for everyone in the show. As the new year starts, I'm finding myself through ground school and sims going to IOE, taking my first command on the Embraer. Is there...
Wow,
congrats.
brilliant.
Yeah, good job. Is there anything
Fantastic.
you'd go back and tell yourself on your first Captain IOE? Or any sage advice give to a brand new captain? It sounds cliche, but I have to ask. Once again, thank you all for everything you do and tagging along with me on my road trips. Anytime y'all are in Pittsburgh, I'd be happy to treat you to some nice tall beers. It's the least I can do. Fair skies and tailwinds, Tom Troutman. Thank you, Tom. Very nice words, kind words, and congrats on your advancement, your upgrade to commander. So, what do you think? Nick, you were a commander for many years. What would you give as advice for Tom?
Well, one of the pitfalls that I fell into was, after so many years being a first officer, you think it's great to, you think you know everything, and you think it's great to use your new position to set the tone. And sometimes it's very easy to set the tone too formally, so that you want to be on top of everything. You want to display your confidence. You want to show the fact that you are the commander. You know that everything there is to know about the airplane, etc. And that can come across really the wrong way, and it takes a few years to settle into that more relaxed, easygoing attitude when you're completely comfortable with letting other people show their knowledge and not trying to one-up them all the time, going, well, I'm the captain, I know more than you, so I'm going to I'm going to demonstrate that you are in error. That is a very easy trap to fall into. So there were occasions I look back now and I think, I wish I had just let things ride, let a lot more ride without correcting what I thought to be an error, because unless it's a big thing, it's often much simpler just to find the quiet moment when it is right, just correct something if you think it's important enough to correct it, often it's not. So that would be the biggest thing. But quite honestly, that comes with time in the seat and confidence. And when you're first in the left-hand seat, you don't have a lot of either. So it's a learning process. And we all look back and think, I wish I'd done that better. Wish I'd been a bit more relaxed about that, a bit more laid back. But, you get there in the end. So by the end of your career, you think you've nailed it. But it's, you're going to make mistakes, and just be happy to accept them. You don't have to be perfect, even though you've done all this work to get where you are. You don't have to be perfect all the time. Accept the fact that you're going to make the odd mistake, and just learn to live with it. Be easygoing.
Yep, we will never be perfect. You'll always make mistakes. Nick, C, have any advice? No, Liz says, speak for yourself, Jeff. She never makes mistakes, apparently.
Not particularly.
Steph?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think it's hard to, I don't have specific experience in that or in that specific situation, but anytime you're setting the tone for your team, the group that you're leading, it's always kind of a fine line to walk between making sure that things are, running professionally, smoothly, efficiently, but also making sure that everyone's enjoying what they're doing and they're happy to be there with you and committed to the mission, the outcome, the goal, whatever that is. So, I think managing to, what the exact question was, something about advice you wish you had given, correct? I'm trying to remember exactly anything you go back and tell yourself on your first Captain IOE. I think it's probably don't sweat the small stuff. I think it's easy to sweat the small stuff, but that's not the stuff that's going to be important in the long run. So a lot of what Nick was saying, I think is very appropriate.
Yeah. On your first IOE, don't try to be, as Captain Nick said, a know-it-all. Just the fact that you have made it long enough there at the company to go through upgrade school and you've met all the requirements should be evidence enough that you belong there. And so the same goes for, flying with your first officer. You don't have to prove anything, just your actions, the way you fly the airplane, the way you communicate with the crew, the way you communicate with passengers, that is going to be revealing to the first officer you're flying with. And also, very sage advice that use the skills and judgment of your entire team, your first officer and all your cabin crew, and make them make you look good. Let them make you look good. Mm-hmm. Don't start off by creating an environment where people really don't want to be with you because you're a jerk and just trying to prove how great you are. That's, in the long run, not going to work out very well for you. So let them help you do everything, and remind everybody that you're a team, and the only time that you make a mistake is if you both make the mistake. Those for two pilot crews. Let's try to do this, get through this, have fun, and provide a great, comfortable, enjoyable service to the passengers.
Mm-hmm.
And remember those times
don't be a
that you
jerk.
rode.
Be a nice guy.
Yeah, and those the times that you flew with those that you're thinking, I wish I weren't here. I don't like this person. Remember those people, and then remember the one. Yeah, don't be that guy, and then remember the ones that you want to be like. And that's the whole journey of becoming a commander or captain is learning all the good and bad from all the people that you've flown with in the past, and then creating the best captain out of all that and make it you.
I'm going to address Mike as a side note to me. He's talking specifically about medical stuff, which is not what Tom was asking about. He says, this is Micah speaking, whenever I have the kind of procedure that you do regularly, I tell my doctor, I know there's always a possibility of mistakes, just don't let me hear you say whoops. So it's very, well, and especially, so our patients are sometimes they have something to help them calm down a little bit, but they're awake so they can hear everything that's going on. And the things that happen where it's just reflexive nature to say "oops" or "dang it" or and that's actually a very good point, Micah. So I've heard this from other doctors, and I'm pretty sure someone told to me in training as well. If you think you're going to say "oops" or "oh no" or something that indicates that you made a mistake, instead just say "there it is." Very confidently.
There's the thing that's going to end my career.
Because usually it has nothing to do with the actual procedure, nothing going on with the patient. It's like you drop something and it's completely inconsequential. It makes no difference at all, but your instinct is automatically just go, oops. Like, don't say oops. Like, just, there it is.
I love it. That's, sage advice.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, well, we're going to quickly, I know we're already over the 3-hour point, so don't get mad at me, people listening, but we're going to do one more piece of feedback and then we're going to wrap it up. Number 16 we're jumping to. Tim writes in, well, here's something you don't see every day and thought you all might like it. I do have a question about it. Why would they need to push it instead of just using the airplane's power to taxi off? Is there some kind of a rule about not being able to taxi with a blown tire, but getting a push is okay? Thanks, keep the blue side up unless you're flying over water at night, then keep the blue side down. Choose appropriately. Thank you very much. That's good advice, Tim. So the incident to which he's referring is out of the NewYorkPost.com. Passengers forced to push plane down runway after tire ruptures. In a technique seemingly reserved for automobiles, Nepal airline passengers were forced to push their airplane after a popped tire stranded it on the tarmac. Let's see. The surreal scenario occurred after a wheel allegedly burst on a Tarajet that had just landed at Bajura Airport from Simkat in Humla, the Indian Express reported. As a result, the lightweight Twin Otter, the Twatter, aircraft was left stranded in the middle of the runway, preventing other planes from departing. As the facility lacked the tools to move the plane, passengers and security personnel had to come together to resolve the situation. The resulting 20-minute footage shows the intrepid team pushing the green and white jet down the runway like ants with a caterpillar as bystanders cheer them on. Ants with a caterpillar as bystanders cheered them on. Okay, so wasn't looking. Oh, here we go. A couple of pictures that we have here of the passengers outside of the aircraft shoving the airplane out of the way. They didn't bargain on this when they bought their ticket, I would imagine. I don't know if they got a refund or not, Liz. That's a good question. So how many times has this happened, this scenario, Steph, since you fly the Twin Otter?
0.
Yeah, I had a feeling it might be that.
Yeah.
Why is there? He asks, is there a reason why they didn't just use the airplane power to taxi airplane?
Can't think of a great one other than perhaps they realized that the aircraft wasn't moving appropriately and they couldn't tell exactly what was wrong, so they shut down the engines, got out, and we burst a tire, and it's just cheaper. Instead of restarting the aircraft and using its own power to get people to push it.
Well, it's cheaper until someone pushes where it says, do not push.
Do not push. There's not too many of those places on the Otter, to be honest. It's pretty sturdy and robust.
iHaul Boxes says he's got it. Manual push, noise abatement
procedure. Yeah. It may have been a significant grade as well.
There are not many hills in that area.
Yeah.
No,
although I would think if you can't get it to move with the power of the engines, it's going to be very hard to get that to get it to move, Nick? Under people power.
I have no idea. I guess the pilot shut down and went, well, not our problem. And, someone else said, well, let's give it a push. I really don't know why on earth you would try and get the passengers to push it rather than just crank those motors up and go for it. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that it's a high wing, so the thrust line's fairly high. It might not have traveled well. It might not have rotated the flat tire very well. People pushing from underneath might elevate the fuselage a little bit and take some weight off the blown tire. But I'm plucking at straws here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking, the airplane is obviously listing a little bit because the tire went down. On some airplanes where you don't have very much prop clearance, you may be concerned about getting a prop strike.
Not a concern with the Twin Otter.
Propellers are still high.
Yeah, not a concern.
So I thought maybe with that engine coming down a little bit, they were concerned about ingesting FOD. Once again, it's still
not going to be my only thought is they had shut down the engines to assess the situation and see, and then it really just wasn't going to be cost effective for them to fire them back up.
So you think it's economics in this situation?
I mean, that's what we would think.
Yeah.
That's how our brains would work in terms of the amount of fuel we'd be using to do something like that.
Yeah, perhaps they only had barely enough fuel for the next leg, and they couldn't refuel up there because it was such a remote place.
That's entirely possible, to be honest.
So they didn't want to waste any more gas trying to taxi it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think Craig has an idea here. They were training for Mount Everest.
Yep. All those Sherpas on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't there an airplane called the Sherpa?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There you go. That's what they should have been flying.
Yeah. Maybe they thought that's what they were. That might be the problem.
This is your airplane. You push it.
Okay.
Oh,
well, that is going to end it for today. We have lots of great feedback still that we didn't get to in today's program.
Liz will be happy.
Move it. Yeah, Liz is very happy. Move it on to the next show, which will be sometime in the future. We're not sure exactly when.
Well, it depends if you can get out of that house with all the snow coming.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll as we always recommend, always follow us on Twitter, APG Crew. Well, Steph is going to tell you about that in a minute. But anyway, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We'll put out notices. Liz actually puts them out and lets you know when we're planning on doing the next episode. And then you can join these great people that we have with us today in the live audience. And they really make this show doing or worthwhile. Anyway, so what was I going to say? Oh, we always talked about our website, airlinepilotguy.com. It's a great place to go to find out more about our crew and community and the community calendar and the APG library, merchandise, a place where you can start out at least watching us doing our live recordings on YouTube. And the calendar, I already mentioned that right away at the front. We put the show on the we put the show. The notification for the show we put on the APG calendar. You can check there as well if you don't want to follow us on Twitter or Facebook. And Plane Tales, how could I forget that? That's one of the best parts of our website where Nick goes the old pilot goes in there and puts more information, more photographs and stuff to support the individual episodes of the Plain Tale, and a way for you to subscribe to the Plain Tales as a separate podcast. And what was the last one, Liz? Coffee Fund, of course. Yeah, if you want to support the show financially, please check out the Coffee Fund on airlinepilotguide.com. And we're on social media, and Steph is going to tell us all about that.
We are. You can head over to Twitter. We are at APG Crew, and we've got our individual Twitter handles pinned to the top of that page, should you wish to find those. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. And Instagram, we're also APG Crew on that account. So please join us on the social medias. And just real quick before we move on to Slack, which is also very important. I had mentioned that other podcast, but just in case folks wanted to find it, it's the 21, so the numerals 21.5, all spelled out, pilot podcast. And the episode was number 61, What's It Like to Fly Crop Dusters. I definitely recommend that as a listen.
All right. If you'll text that to me,
I'll
Steph,
do that so you can put it in the show notes.
And then I'll put that in the show notes. Very good. And let's see. Slack, I think you said something about that. Let's see if we can find Hillel. I think he's here. He knew it. Hey, Hillel, can you do Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Not a problem. Come over here. Just don't get the water all over everything, and tell us all about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and Plain Tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right.
He's a little premature there.
He was. Yeah. A little
Is that
misfire
a
on my
premature
part.
ejaculation?
Yes, it was.
Thought so.
Sorry, Jeff, I might have used all your skin lotion.
That's okay. I'll get some more. All right. With that, yeah, look up the word that Nick just used, and he was using it.
We've had that discussion before, and
Yes,
that
we
was
have.
appropriate and not
For our new
at all what
listeners-
you're thinking.
Yes, for our new listeners, look up that word, and you'll see the older definition, not the one that most people associate it with anymore. It was appropriate for Hillel's outburst there. Before it was I don't know how he did that either, because he was talking about Slack and had an outburst at the same time.
I've got a theory. It involves another orifice.
Okay. Well, we want to also thank our producer-director, Liz Piper in Toronto. Yay, Liz. Thank you so much for all your help every week and in between shows, especially. We couldn't do it without you. And why is this not? Okay, I'm going to hit the little button here to make it fade. There we go. It's fading away, as I am. And now we're going to bid you adieu and wish you clear skies. Oh, before we do that, thanks again, Nick Camacho, for joining us on the show today. And
absolutely, thanks, Nick.
Find it, yeah, thank you. And how can we find you on the Twitters and Facebooks?
I think I'm just Nick Camacho on Twitter and Instagram, and
all right, all the
a little
places.
Inactive recently, but I guess I could start.
You don't have to. I go there too. Yeah. Forget I said. I'll take that out on post. And finally, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care. God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Ta-da.
Well done.
I've got a dash for a few seconds. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to let my dog
And
out.
I'm going to.
Now there is definitely rain falling mixed with big fat snowflakes.
Ooh.
And it's cold, so that's great.
Yeah. Is the ice still out there too? Probably.
There's definitely ice, but I'm concerned about the rain precipitation falling on all of this. It's going to freeze.
Yeah. What's the temperature like? Below freezing, isn't it?
It is currently 32 or 0 if you prefer.
Freezing.
It's right at
Yeah.
freezing.
That can't be good. That's what they're most concerned about.
Yeah,
is the fact
there's
that the
definitely
temperature's still low and
these little ice droplets appearing on tree branches, which are interesting. Yeah.
Let me check to see if my power is back on yet. Nope. Power's not back on.
Nope.
Yeah, I would check.
Well, you probably have to
remote.
reset the internet router like manually before it'll, or no, should it just come back on its own?
No,
power?
usually I've been on trips before where the power goes out and then it comes back on.
back
and
on.
Things back on.
Gotcha.
But I'm thinking if I were there now, well, we wouldn't be doing the show obviously, and I'd be probably just huddled
Freezing.
around my little fireplace, feeding it firewood, trying to keep from freezing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I probably couldn't drive anywhere. I'm sure that the roads are kind of treacherous up there, and they're not.
No,
flat,
I've been looking
by
at
the
some.
way.
Even the roads around here that are kind of flat are treacherous. There was a post on Twitter from one of the local news reporters, I-7 or 277. It looks like there was a small incline, and it looks like a snowplow went up kind of half of one side and then maybe half of the other side, but not all the way to the top, and just said, "Screw it, you're on your own."
Yeah, I'm trying, but I can't.
Yeah, it's just
not gonna
futile. Like, just don't.
I got to go home.
We
now.
got any show title suggestions? Sorry, I've got to deal with something, but I've got a few minutes just to wind up. Got any
Dumpster
show
fire.
title suggestions?
Dumpster fire, Liz is saying.
Yeah, I like that one too. Yeah.
Well,
I also
Something
quite
about
like that
cowboys.
early one.
I think somebody said planes, trains, and dumpster fires.
Planes, trains, and dumpster fires. That's great.
That was
Oh,
me. That was
yeah,
somebody in
that
the
is a
chat.
good one.
Yeah,
That's a great
whoever
one.
said that, that's fantastic. Thank you.
That's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Whoever came up with that.
Well, it's a great title. You tried doing a picture.
It's not. That's not difficult. Planes,
Plane?
trains, and dumpster fires.
Yeah,
Dumpster
it's
fire.
got-
That seems
It
easy
just
to
can't
me.
be a plane and a train and a dumpster fire.
Exactly. You know,
It's got to be more imaginative than that. But I will certainly. Yes, I think that's the ideal one.
747 with a burning dumpster as a nose wheel.
Ooh.
And people pushing
Oh,
it.
there you go. That's a good one. I'd love to do a burning 747. That would be
Oh,
lovely.
Nick.
Rick
You
isn't
gotta
even here
keep
to
that
care.
down inside. You gotta.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
that's
all right. Well,
that's on
you
Rick.
just made that suggestion. I mean, yes, I think that's a lovely one. Let's do that one.
Did that seem sincere to anybody?
It seemed very sincere and very gleeful. Yes.
That's gleeful.
Not condescending at all.
No, not at all. No.
Before Nick has to run off, let's end the broadcast and talk quickly about. Next
Okay. We are. Oh, you can hear her because she's right there. Everybody can hear what she's
Yep.
saying. Okay. Thank you, everyone in the live audience. I
No
know that
burning Boeings. Oh dear.
we don't have
Well,
to.
luckily
give
you're
them
not in
ideas,
charge, Paul.
This is the Paul that we shared the Airbnb with in
Absolutely,
in Dayton a couple of
yes.
years ago. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. I know that a lot of people were expressing their thanks for us doing this earlier in the day and on a weekend, so that they could be with us when they normally can't. So we're glad. We're happy to accommodate it every now and then. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end the show. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. What's left of it, anyway. All right.